All right, so we got something else interesting going on, guys. Cash Patel, man. You know what I'm saying? Is most definitely going after the NBA, y'all. Um, 31 players arrested. Illegal gambling, guys. Lord, how mercy Jesus. When will they ever learn, man? I don't know if they ever gonna learn. I'm just saying. But yeah, man. 31 arrested, y'all, for illegal gambling. As I try to get this all together, Lord have mercy. Yeah, man. This is crazy, y'all. Make sure you double tapping that screen. If you in the building, let me know you're here, man. I got a couple things going at once, trying to charge my phone while it's on the stand. Got it a little crooked, but we're gonna work with it, y'all. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Yeah, this is Cash Patel, guys. On what's going on in the NBA, man. Come to find out, some of the games be rigged, man. They've been saying that for a minute. Man, some of these NBA games be rigged. They be saying that some of the football games be rigged that we watch. And with all of this betting going on, you know, sports betting in general, sometimes it's hard to tell. Man, they got current players, current coaches, former players, former coaches, you know, all arrested, man. This is crazy. Let's get into a little bit of it, man. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen. You know what I'm saying? Hey, well informed, what's up with it, my guy? We in the building, man. The FBI done started messing with the NBA. Let's find out what's going on.
Importance of this historic case. I'm Christopher Rea, the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI New York Field Office. Today, as you've heard, our office conducted a massive nationwide takedown from 2 indictments of 34 defendants for their alleged involvement in 2 separate illegal poker and sports betting schemes where, as you heard, the odds were rigged in their favor.
The odds were rigged in their favor. Wow.
Defendants are 13 members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families, to include capos and soldiers from these families. Additionally, as you heard, current and former NBA coaches and players are also implicated, to include Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones,
Chauncey Billups,
and
guys.
Terry Rozier. 3 of the named defendants are charged for their alleged roles in both schemes. This alleged illegal gambling operation hustled unwitting victims out of tens of millions of dollars and created a financial pipeline for La Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate their organized criminal activity. Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor, as alleged, and as you just heard from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This alleged scheme wreaked havoc across the nation, exploiting the notoriety of some and the wallets of many to fund the Italian crime families here in New York.
This is crazy, y'all.
Let me be clear about this fact. The FBI has not and will never take their eye off the ball when it comes to Italian organized crime in this city, specifically the LCN and the 5 families here in New York. We are not going to permit any criminal enterprise, whether it be Italian organized crime, Asian organized crime, Eurasian organized crime. We're not going to permit any of those organized crimes, families, and organizations to operate in our city or our country, as evidenced by the 11 states that were also participating in this operation today. The FBI office here in New York remains committed to eradicating all unlawful revenue streams fueling this criminal activity. As with most cases we work, this is only the tip of the iceberg for the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Our LCN squad agents and analysts are continuing to work day and night with the Eastern District of New York to ensure members and associates of the five families cannot continue to wreak havoc in our communities. Today would not
What's
have been
up, Bo
possible
Wilker?
without the tireless effort
Make sure y'all
and
double tapping that
dedication
screen,
of the
guys.
FBI New York Eurasian Organized Crime Task Force, which, as you heard, was led by Supervisory Special Agent Luke Hardison, and the Italian Organized Task Force, which was led by Supervisory Special Agent Mike Malahi. And coincidentally, Supervisory Special Agent Malahi is going out on a positive as he is retiring at the end of this month for 30 years of dedicated service to the FBI, and that deserves a hand. He's what we call a legend here at FBI New York.
This is crazy, y'all. The NBA, guys, the FBI taking people to jail over illegal betting, guys. 31 people arrested.
Additionally, obviously, we cannot do this alone without our partners. I want to extend my appreciation to Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent in Charge, Ricky Patel. Of course, we do nothing in this city without the NYPD. New York City Police Department Commissioner Jesse Tisch, thank you, ma'am, for all your work and all your resources that you dedicated to this. And New York Waterfront Commissioner Phoebe Soriel for their agency's assistance and support throughout this lengthy and complex investigation. Our collective efforts ensured these subjects will face accountability, like the director said, for their alleged wrongdoings. Thank you, and I'll now turn it over to Special Agent in charge of HSI, Ricky Patel.
Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ricky Patel. I'm the Special Agent in charge for Homeland Security Investigations here in New York. This morning, hundreds of special agents and investigators with HSI, the FBI, the New York Waterfront Commission, and the NYPD descended upon the homes of individuals who for years have operated with the false sense of impunity, a false sense of incivility. In the early hours of today, across 9 states, coast to coast, dozens of defendants were arrested and will face the consequences of their alleged crimes. This was their wake-up call. With the alleged involvement of 3 La Cosa Nostra crime families, 1 NBA head coach, a Hall of Famer, no less, and former NBA players, the years of investigative work that culminated with this morning's operation seem reminiscent of a Hollywood movie. But this wasn't luck, and this wasn't theatrics. This was an evidence-driven, relentless, and unified effort among law enforcement. Through what we have dubbed Operation Royal Flush, HSI New York, along with our task force personnel from the Waterfront Commission, first uncovered this scheme more than 4 years ago. Agents and investigators dedicated countless hours and sleepless nights in identifying the criminal network, dissecting communications and patterns, and following the money with precision. We built a case, piece by piece, and what we discovered was a sprawling criminal enterprise that utilized cutting-edge technology and various methods of deception to dupe unsuspecting gamblers into paying up so that these defendants could cash out. As alleged, this sophisticated conspiracy cheated victims out of at least $7 million and placed a...
7 million, guys. People have been speculating that some of these games has been rigged for years, guys. These people here just got caught. 31 people arrested, former and active NBA players and coaches, guys. Make sure you double tapping that screen. Let's get those likes up. We got too many people in the building, not enough likes. Double tap your mobile device screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots in the right-hand corner. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribing to the channel if you are new.
The public and the defendants alike at risk. This case involved global reach, financial depth, and the patience to dismantle complex financial criminal enterprises from the inside out. When criminal organizations attempt to launder profits through our country, HSI connects the dots and shuts it down. To anyone who thinks intimidation, fraud, or violence will shield their profits, understand this. If you are exploiting our communities, expect HSI and all of our law enforcement partners at your door. I would like to thank all our partners here today. Obviously, the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, the Waterfront Commission, the FBI, the NYPD, and the prosecutors that will carry this forward. Today's arrests are not an endpoint. They are the start of accountability. Thank you, and I now turn it over to Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
This is crazy, y'all.
Good morning. Thank you to Director Patel, Assistant Director Rhea, and U.S. Attorney Nacella. What we're announcing today is not just another takedown. It's the result of more than 2 years of coordinated investigative work by the NYPD's Joint Organized Crime Task Force and the FBI. 2 cases that exposed criminal networks led by 34 individuals who believed the rules did not apply to them. They hid behind layers of complexity, behind money, and behind influence, believing those things would shield them from accountability. The first case, Operation Nothing But Bet, exposed a gambling ring built around professional basketball, where players and associates allegedly used inside information to manipulate prop bets on major sports betting platforms. They placed wagers on unders on players to score less, rebound less, assist less, using information that was not yet public. In some instances, players altered their performance or took themselves out of games to make sure that those bets paid out.
Wow, guys. So they getting at the NBA and the mob. Said that players took themselves out of games, and basically didn't perform to their max potential in order to ensure that some of those bets were won. Wow.
One example occurred on March 23rd, 2023 in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics.
Wow.
Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash.
What's up, Cal?
As the NBA season tips off, his career is already benched, not for injury, but for integrity. As a result of this investigation, 6 defendants, including Rozier, are now facing conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud. In a second case, Operation Zen Diagram, investigators uncovered a long-running scheme in which members and associates of several well-known organized crime families rigged high-stakes poker games across the country. These operatives included capos and multiple soldiers from the Bonanno, Gambino, Lucchese, and Genovese crime families, bringing forth...
AKA the mob, guys. The mob was involved in all of this. Let's double tap that screen, guys. Can we get the likes up past 100? If you're on a mobile device, double tap that screen. Or click those 3 dots and hit the thumbs up, guys. Let's get these likes moving, man. We at 39. We need more than 100, guys. Get the likes up.
4 of the 5 families together in a single indictment is extraordinarily rare. It reflects how deep and how far this investigation reached, and the skill and the persistence it took to get here. That work uncovered a deliberate, technologically sophisticated operation designed to carry out their crimes. They used custom shuffling machines that could read the order of cards, barcoded decks, and hidden cameras built into tables and light fixtures. The organizers also enlisted well-known public figures.
Hold on, man. I got to keep pausing. I am just shocked, man. Are any of y'all shocked out there to the extreme measures they went in order to secure these bets and make sure they win? Devices, recording devices up under tables? Oh, wow.
Former and current NBA players and coaches, including Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, and NBA
Chauncey Billups arrested. Wow.
Champion and a Hall of Famer to make the games appear legitimate. Victims believed that they were sitting at a fair table. Instead, they were cheated out of millions. One victim in particular lost $1.8 million. In total, losses exceeded $7 million and continue to climb. And when people refused to pay, these defendants did what organized crime has always done. They used threats, they used intimidation, and they used violence. It's the same pattern that we have seen for decades, traditional mob enforcement methods combined with new technology to expand the reach of their operations. Now, with the unsealing of today's indictment, 34 individuals are facing charges including robbery, extortion, money laundering, wire fraud, bank fraud, and illegal gambling.
Lord, man. Wow. Listen to these charges, man.
Laundering, wire fraud, bank fraud,
Money laundering,
and
hold
including
on.
robbery, extortion,
Robbery, extortion, money laundering,
money laundering, wire fraud, bank
wire fraud, bank fraud,
fraud, and illegal gambling. I
and
want
illegal gambling, guys. These dudes are in a world of trouble.
to commend the outstanding work of our detectives from the Joint Organized Crime Task Force and their dedication to these cases, especially Captain Ruben Pagan, Sergeant Chris McGuire, Detective Alexander Creamer, Detective James McCullough, and of course, our Chief of Detectives, Chief Kenny. As part of these investigations, our members recovered and reviewed thousands of hours of video, conducted extensive surveillance on illegal gambling locations across the city, and executed more than 24 search warrants on electronic records that revealed the true extent of this conspiracy. Once again, the work of our detectives, together with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, closed those gaps before they could widen further. The NYPD is proud to stand with each of you today as these cases represent the kind of partnership that defines modern law enforcement agencies, sharing intelligence, coordinating resources, and moving as one team. Thank you.
If anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask,
This dude right here remind me of the dude that say clear eyes. Man, this is crazy. Somebody said, do y'all think real casinos don't cheat? I don't know, man, but I know these people got caught.
now is the time.
I had a question about the structure of the case. Is it the investigation into one case, did that lead into the discovery of the other? How you can talk more about the link between the two.
I'm not at liberty to discuss either the background of the investigation itself or the investigation as it continues. So I'm afraid I can't really explain to you other than the fact that both cases have been unsealed today, and there was an overlap that has been discussed already with respect to certain of the defendants. Yes.
Not that border claim that he had a gambling addiction. Did Rosier or Billups or David Jones claim the same thing at all?
With respect to any allegations or defenses that have been made by any of the defendants, they will have their opportunity to present them in court. We're not here to air those at this time or to discuss them. Yes. As I said, I can't discuss ongoing investigations. The investigation is ongoing, which by definition means that there will be further evidence uncovered at a minimum, and there's always that possibility. But I can't comment any further with respect to that. Yes.
Director Patel, you had said in your comments, we're going to take heat for this case. Why do you say that, and what efforts might you take to counter it?
It's not popular to go after some of the defendants that we went after today, but justice is served blindly. And how do we countermand that? Simple. The unsealing of these indictments today shows the force of the Department of Justice and our great Attorney General and the leadership that we have at the FBI and the team here to specifically mete out justice. And look, let's not, mince words. This is the insider trading saga for the NBA. That's what this is. That's why we are going to take heat. But as the evidence comes out, as the indictments are unsealed, you will see the extensive work these men and women put in, countless hours over years, and that's how we countermand it.
Director Patel, so the dates of these indictments that were filed are October 9th and October 16th. Can you talk about the timing of moving?
Let's continue to double tap that screen, guys. Get the lights up.
We will not publicly discuss the timing of when we do takedowns. I will only say that we do takedowns in a coordinated fashion with our law enforcement partners and the U.S. Attorney at the appropriate time to make sure that we ensure the integrity of the investigation, as the United States Attorney said, an investigation that is very much ongoing.
I like that comment. Somebody said, this guy let criminals cross his eyes. Let's go. Because Cash Patel eyes are most definitely crossed.
You said insider trading for the NBA. What are the implications of this case for other sports leagues and for the legal gambling industry in general?
Simple. If you're participating in the legal gambling industry, you got nothing to worry about. If you're participating in illegal conduct, you got everything to worry about, and this case shows it.
Did the illegal conduct cross with the legal sports betting platforms in any capacity? And if so, is that the search warrants that the police reference?
I'm not sure I quite understand your question. You're asking if the illegal conduct...
If it crossed with, like, the sports betting industry, or the online sports betting industry?
The sports books themselves are victims in this case. They themselves did not, as far as our investigation has concluded, they did not perpetrate anything unlawful.
Are you able to say which sports books or online outlets they use to make these bets?
I'm not going to respond to that at this time, but that information will be made public. Yes?
Can you identify the access point where these co-conspirators were able to recruit these, famous people to partake in the schemes?
When you say the access point,
Recruit them?
I'm not sure which case you're referring to.
Oh. So
Well,
Rozier, how he was recruited, David Jones in the NBA scandal, and then Phillips with
we're not at liberty to say that at this time. That will be revealed in due course. Yes. What is your question, sir?
Hey, thanks for being here. You just said that the sports books themselves are the victims, at least in the indictment involving Terry Rozier and others.
They're among the victims.
Okay. But those companies make, as we all know, they make a crazy amount of money off of a lot of everyday Americans make bets and mostly lose them. Are you concerned with a jury potentially not being sympathetic in a case where the victims, as you say, are these multi-million or billion-dollar gambling?
Let me repeat that all of the defendants themselves are presumed innocent. We believe that at a trial, when they have the opportunity to present their defenses if they chose, because they're not required to, we will come forward with the evidence to demonstrate their guilt. Yes? The answer to your question is yes, the NBA has cooperated with the investigation. Yes, sir. The investigations that we announced today did not involve college basketball.
Last question.
Yes.
There was an emphasis on the Italian crime presence, organized crime in New York. Can you give us a sense of the strength and status of the Italian organized crime in New York right now?
No, I'm sorry. That would be a question that goes beyond what we're here to discuss today, which is these two indictments. Thank you.
Everybody.
It's crazy, y'all.
We were just listening in there to that press conference here from officials. FBI Director Cash Patel alleging NBA gambling scheme involved tens of millions of dollars, as well as the Italian mafia. They were discussing two separate indictments there as well. And if you are just tuning in here, Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier were among more than 30 people charged in connection with schemes involving illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by the mafia. That's according to authorities that we learned here today. Rozier is accused in participating in an illegal illegal sports betting scheme using private insider NBA information. Billups is charged in a separate indictment. As I said, there are two separate indictments here.
Wow,
alleging a
guys.
wide-ranging scheme to rig underground poker games that were backed by mafia families. All of this according to authorities. The indictments are related to these two major cases, one involving sports betting, the other second one involving rigged poker games. And we did just hear from this news conference here a lot of information surrounding this after this news broke here this morning. In the first case, 6 defendants are accused of participating in an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about NBA athletes and teams. And also here we did learn the second case involves 31 defendants in a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. The defendants include former professional athletes accused of using technology to steal millions of dollars from victims in underground.
So they was gambling, poker games and sports games, guys. This is crazy.
Poker games in the New York area that were backed by mafia families. In the sports betting scheme, players sometimes altered their performance or took themselves out of games early, and that's according to New York Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, as we just heard there in that press conference. In one instance, Rozier, while playing for the Hornets, told others he was planning to leave the game early with a supposed...
John says the poker games were something right out of a James Bond novel, meaning they were using high-tech devices in order to rig these poker games.
Injury, allowing others to place wagers that raked in thousands of dollars. Once again, that's according to NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch. The indictment of Rozier and others says there are 9 unnamed co-conspirators, including a Florida resident who is an NBA player and an Oregon resident who is an NBA player from about 1997 to 2014, and an NBA coach since at least 2021, as well as a relative of Rozier as well. Rozier and other defendants, quote, had access to private information known by NBA players or NBA coaches that was likely to affect the outcome of games or players' performances, and provided that information to other co-conspirators in exchange for either a flat fee or a share of betting profits. That's according to the indictment. The NBA has no immediate comment on all of this. The league has investigated Rozier previously and still is looking into the actions of former Detroit player Malik Beasley, one of the sources telling the Associated Press here. And we are going to try to get an expert to join us a little bit later on in the show to break this all down here for us. A pretty lengthy press conference. And as you heard at the end there, reporters asking questions, but officials not quite yet able to comment on all of that as this investigation is still ongoing here. We're going to stay on top of this story.
All right, y'all. So make sure you're double tapping that screen. Most definitely subscribe if you're new, because we're not done, guys. Not only did they do that press conference yesterday, they most definitely did one today. I guess this is on the sealed indictment part 2. There was 2 of them. This is the second one right here, and they spoke about this one today.
Out to Philadelphia, we're hearing from officials, including the FBI. You can see there Kash Patel talking about drug raids in that city. Let's listen in to this on Live Now.
Okay, what you see amassed in front of you is what happens when you let good cops be cops, when you let interagency, state and local police work together to rid our cities of the harmful plague of drug trafficking organizations and gang violence. And there's an important distinction to be made. Yesterday I was in the White House with the president for the Homeland Security
this ain't what I
Task
was
Force.
looking for.
And while that lift is being done...
Hold on, we'll get to that one in a second. Let's stick to what we own. The illegal sports betting. All right, so they break it down for us right here. He was talking about a drug operation right there. That ain't what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this one. Let's go.
A sitting head coach of the NBA, current and past players, and members of the mafia were charged in relation to 2 separate gambling scandals that have rocked the basketball world. Law enforcement announced indictments in what officials described as 2 separate but major cases, both involving fraud. One of the indictments was characterized as the insider trading saga for the NBA, where current and past players were among those accused of selling non-public information about players and games that was then used to place illegal bets. The other indictment detailed a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. A former player and a now coach were also accused of luring victims to fixed games, where like special glasses that made pre-marked cards visible, a table with X-ray technology.
They had, listen to what they was using in this poker game, guys. They had glasses that would highlight the marked cards, guys. This is why John said it was something out of a James Bond movie. Check it out.
Like special glasses that made pre-marked cards visible, a table with X-ray technology, and a poker chip tray that secretly read cards were used to cheat and fleece the victims.
Listen to what
Like
they
special
had.
glasses that made accused of luring victims to fixed games, were advanced technology, like special glasses that made pre-marked cards visible, a table with X-ray technology, and a poker chip tray that secretly read cards were used.
A table with X-ray technology, guys. Glasses that could read marked cards. This is crazy.
Used to cheat and fleece the victims. FBI Director Kash Patel described the amount of fraud in this case as mind-boggling. He said tens of millions of dollars in fraud, theft, and robbery were uncovered over the course of the investigation. Attorney Marissa Darden joins Forbes True Crime to discuss the major gambling scandals that have been reportedly described as a nightmare for the league.
Let's go.
True Crime. Joining me now is attorney Marissa Darden. Marissa, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me to be here today.
The FBI announced indictments in what was described as a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise involving NBA players past and present and the mafia. Over 30 people were arrested in connection to an investigation that spanned over years and was into 2 separate gambling schemes. FBI Director Kash Patel said the charges include wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, and illegal gambling. And he said that the fraud is not only mind-boggling, it is in the tens of millions of dollars. And what we're going to be talking about today, I mean, is just stuff you see out of the movies. Allegations against organized crime families, allegations against a sitting NBA coach, poker games, underground poker games using an X-ray table to cheat, leaked medical information. I mean, you hear this as an attorney. What do you make of it? What was your reaction?
Well, it's exactly like you said, just straight out of a movie. You know, we don't normally hear about the crime families that much anymore. In particular, the La Cosa Nostra, I think, has been fairly underground since the late 80s and some of the original prosecutions.
But they say that the mob got their hands in a lot of things. The NBA ain't the only part where the mob plays a part, guys, according to some people. It's just crazy that all these people got caught up. This is crazy. All right, so this is an attorney basically breaking down what these players and coaches could be facing, guys.
With Giuliani and New York City in the past. So to hear that they're still operating, not just, in businesses we might normally hear about it, but really with these sophisticated business modes to defraud folks out of, gambling money or illegal poker games, things like that, that was a real shock. And then I think the more serious part that really struck me, particularly given the time, the fact that it's the beginning of the NBA season, the top of the hour this year, and that there's been a lot of commingling of legal gambling and sports betting and sports. To hear that there are some players who were giving out, non-public material, non-public information, and also using that to their advantage with their other co-conspirators, I think that really is a shocking allegation, both from as a fan and from...
I know, it was shocking hearing this. And there's 2 major but separate indictments. And one was categorized as the NBA insider information one. And I want to talk about that one first. Sure. Joseph Nozella, he is the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. He called this one of the most brazen sports corruption schemes since online betting became widely legalized in the United States. And this indictment says essentially that confidential information about players, about teams, about their medical information at times was used to place illegal bets. And the defendants were charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. How serious is this indictment?
The charges in the first indictment that you mentioned about the using information to cast bets through, by the way, legal means, right? Using online sports betting or sports books that are otherwise completely legal, but using non-public material information to, information that would have otherwise not been available to the public or to those sports gambling entities is very serious. The top charge of the conspiracy and wire fraud has a maximum penalty of 20 years in jail plus a fine or both. And so the 6 individuals who are charged in that first indictment are really looking at some very serious stakes and penalties. It also is driven in the United States sentencing guidelines. You know, federal court is very different from state court. In federal court, the way that your punishment is ultimately calculated by a judge involves using a series of numbers and figures and examples in the United States sentencing guidelines to try to calculate an appropriate sentence. A judge will...
They're going to wind up shutting down this online betting, guys. What y'all think, man? This is crazy.
Ultimately get to decide what those sentences are, but the guidelines are meant to be advisory, and they're triggered largely by the loss amounts that are calculated in these cases. So the more money that folks won or sort of defrauded the betting systems and organizations and profited from, the more time they're going to be looking at, up to 20 years in jail.
Ooh, up to 20 years.
I want to talk about some of the allegations in this first indictment. Some of the defendants are former and there is a current NBA player, and get your reaction. Former NBA player Damon Jones, who worked as an unofficial assistant coach for the Lakers during the 2022-2023 season, allegedly leaked non-public medical information about a player to someone who then bet against the Lakers. Terry Rozier, who was a player, he was accused of telling someone he was going to leave a game early over a supposed injury. He did leave a game early, and then that information was sold. An unnamed co-conspirator, whose description matched Chauncey Billups, a former player and the sitting head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, allegedly told the defendant in the indictment that Portland would throw a game in order to get a better draft pick, and that certain players would be benched from a game. I'm curious, as a defendant here, how exactly do you defend yourself from these charges? I mean, how airtight is this case?
Well, you have to remember, again, there's always a presumption of innocence. So the charges are just that. They're allegations of wrongdoing, and each defendant has the benefit in our legal system of being presumed innocent until proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So I guess there's a question of, how this investigation will continue to unfold, how these indictments are supported by facts. But the Eastern District of New York is a sophisticated, very long-standing, well-respected U.S. Attorney's Office. And in any circumstance like this, when you're talking about allegations of wrongdoing at the highest level of our sports industry and in our commerce, they would not have brought these charges unless they felt that they could prove them at trial beyond a reasonable doubt. So to answer your specific question, there's always the presumption of innocence. You want, as a criminal defense attorney, you always want to make sure that you can leave no stone unturned and try to defend these charges zealously. But generally speaking, when...
Hold up, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because I got something else I want to show y'all. I want to show y'all the advanced technology that they were actually using, guys, in order to make this happen. It's one thing to hear it. It's another thing to see it in action. Check this out.
New reaction to the gambling scandal rocking the NBA.
I'm ashamed that those guys have put their families and their careers in jeopardy.
Chauncey Billups, a Hall of Fame player and current coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and Terry Rozier of the Miami Heat, both seen leaving court. They're among more than 30 people arrested, accused of running schemes that made millions by allegedly rigging sports bets and poker games. Billups and another former player, Damon Jones, are accused of working with the mafia, using their celebrity status to lure wealthy people to illegal poker games that were rigged.
Everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam.
The technology allegedly used in the scheme is like something out of Mission Impossible.
Now check this out, guys. This is the glasses that they were using to see the marked cards.
The FBI says the suspects used special glasses and contact lenses that could read invisible markings on cards. Casino security expert Sal Piasante showed us some of the technology.
I can't tell you what that top card is, but if I pop in contact lenses, or if I'm wearing my poker glasses, when you look at that card through that filter,
you see a 5.
You'll see what that card is.
The FBI says the suspects also used card shufflers that were rigged and used what's described as an X-ray poker table that allowed them to see face-down cards through the felt on the table.
Wow!
They also allegedly used what's known as an analyzer. It looks like a cell phone, but when placed in front of a deck of cards, it uses a hidden camera to determine which player will win, no matter how well the deck is shuffled.
This deck is marked invisibly on the side with a barcode. So when this deck gets shuffled and gets placed onto the table, this camera right now is scanning those cards, and it's going to tell you automatically who's going to win.
The device correctly predicting the hand closest to the device will win.
And you win with a full house. Threes
Talk
and
about
fives.
cheating,
Experts
guys.
say the sophisticated scheme shows that the mafia has modernized.
Everyone talks about the mafia getting smaller, going away. Mafia doesn't go away. They will change based upon the law and how they can make money.
In a separate indictment, Rozier was charged in connection with an illegal sports gambling scheme.
Terry Rozier, right foot discomfort, doubtful to return.
Prosecutors say during this game in 2020,
During this exact game that we're watching, guys, he was doing something illegal. You know what I'm saying? During the game, man, this is finna rock sports betting forever, man. Especially online or betting on sports game, period. Since people have been already saying that these games are rigged, guys. This doesn't help. Double tap that screen, y'all. Get those lights up. Let's click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, or if you're on a mobile device, double tap that screen, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is everything we know about the FBI's raid on the NBA and illegal sports betting, guys.
Based upon the law and how they can make money.
In a separate indictment, Rozier was charged in connection with an illegal sports gambling scheme.
Terry Rozier, right foot discomfort, doubtful to return.
Prosecutors say during this game in 2023, Rozier, then with the Hornets, tipped off bettors that he would fake an injury and exit the game. Bettors placed more than $200,000 on him to underperform in the game.
The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash.
Rozier and Billups deny the allegations, their lawyers vowing to fight in court. With both men making millions in salary with their teams, many are wondering what would have been their motive to get involved in such a scheme.
How much more do you need? Especially if you know you get caught, you can do jail time.
Greed, money was the motive. What are we talking about?
Lose your career. You know, put a bad image on yourself or your family.
We have to realize gambling is an addiction. So the addiction of it is what makes you make illogical decisions. Ain't got nothing to do with addiction. That's just total stupidity on these two dudes' parts.
Now, the NBA previously investigated Rozier for that 2023 incident, but cleared him. Now, the league says it is cooperating with this investigation. As for Damon Jones, he has not responded to the allegations.
All right, hold on. There's more, guys. There's more. Man, this is crazy, guys. They got the exact game where he pulled himself out, faking the injury, man. Let's go. Let's check this out.
Floating right now.
I know that you really got two,
including right now court appearances across the country for those indicted in a massive mob-linked sports betting ring. Current and former NBA stars, including Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups, among those charged. The feds say the operation stretched across 11 states and involved high-tech gambling and game rigging schemes. Correspondent Nate Foy has got the latest. He's live outside the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse. Wow, this is a big one, Nate.
Yeah, it certainly is rocking the sports world today, John. As you mentioned, court appearances are underway right now, including with members of the Mafia and other New York-based defendants just across the street from where we are. Other court appearances set to happen soon across the country. There are two indictments at play here. One is about an illegal rigged poker scheme that involves two former NBA coaches and players. The other involves a current active NBA player accused of altering his performance during a game as part of a sports gambling scheme. That player is Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. He was arrested in Orlando early this morning after his team played the Magic last night. He did not play in the game. He's scheduled to appear in federal court in about 20 minutes. Rozier's accused of purposely leaving a game with a phantom injury so that he and his co-conspirators, including his childhood friend, could make tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, Eastern time, he's accused of working with the Mafia to defraud.
My bad, I had to unplug my charger, y'all. Hold on. Let me get this back right. Hold up, y'all. My bad. I have to unplug my charger. Lord have mercy. Hold on. I got it. Hold up. Lord Jesus. I should have kept it like I had it. I done messed it up some more. Hold on, y'all. Golly. I should have just left the phone charging. Hold up.
Fraud victims who thought they were playing fair poker games that were anything but. One person lost $1.8 million in a single game.
Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor.
So, John, take a look at this. Here is one of those shuffling machines. Prosecutors say they read the cards, predicted which player had the best hand, and then relayed that information to a so-called quarterback who would then use signals to communicate with Billups and others during the games. Prosecutors say the defendants also used X-ray tables to secretly view each player's cards. The NBA put out a statement that reads in part, quote, Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. Now, former NBA player and coach Damon Jones is listed in both indictments. So he's accused of partaking in the rigged poker games and selling insider information to profit off bets on NBA games. Now, the allegations involve several NBA teams, and not every single person is named in the indictment, but one game that is in question was a 2023 Portland Trailblazers game where there were a lot of bets placed on it, and the Trailblazers sat 4 of their starters in that game. Now, during that time, Billups was the head coach of the Trailblazers, but he's not facing any charges related to that game. This is an ongoing investigation, and it's part of the same investigation that resulted in a lifetime ban for former Toronto Raptors player Jontay Porter, who admitted to altering his performances during games so that people, including himself, could profit off of these prop bets. We'll send it back to you, John.
You know, if you presented that to a movie studio as a script, they'd say, it's too far-fetched. Nobody will buy it. Nate Foy for us. Thanks, Nate.
It reminds me of the 1979 Boston College point shaving scandal, John.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not old enough to remember that. Thank you, Nate.
All right, let's bring in Fox and Friends co-host Brian Kilmeade and former NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow, a Fox News contributor. Brian, you're familiar with every corner of the sports world. I mean, heads are exploding right now.
I know that you really got two things going on. I think, it's serious in terms of legal stuff on the modified card shuffling, the games in East Hampton, the games in Las Vegas, and I get it. But I think the bigger story is in the sports world, because you have this Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, who's right now just in the card game, but we'll see if the indictment spreads out. The one thing about betting, the one thing about games, the one thing that puts people in the seats, they think the game is not rigged. They think it's not fixed. The minute you fix the game, where people go there and go, and who's getting paid off? Man, that was a bad pass. I wonder if that person is got a prop bet on the side, is involved in it. Then everything falls apart. You can't have gambling. It doesn't have authenticity. And then people will pay for a ticket for a game that they think is somehow predetermined. Yeah. And now the betting falls apart, the game falls apart, the league falls apart. That's why I'm wondering if it gets bigger than this. Terry Rozier and Damon Jones, a former player, not the biggest names in the world. I'm wondering because the day before we hear about the commissioner of the NBA saying we need more rules when it comes to gambling. Why was he saying that?
So Terry Rozier's attorney just happens to be Jim Trusty, who will be familiar with many people who watch this program because we have him on TV a lot. He said this, quote, "It's unfortunate that instead of allowing him to self-surrender, they opted for a photo op. They wanted the misplaced glory of embarrassing a professional athlete with a perp walk. That tells you a lot about the motivations in this case. They appear to be taking the word of spectacularly incredible sources rather than relying on actual evidence of wrongdoing. Terry was cleared by the NBA, and these prosecutors revived that non-case. Terry is not a gambler, but he's not afraid of a fight, and he looks forward to winning this fight."
Oh, wow.
His last contract, 4-year extensions, worth $96 million. He makes $24 million a year. Why does he need a few 10,000s in gambling?
Yeah, you got to ask yourself that. I mean, the reason, to be clear, and I know a lot of people are asking this, why aren't they not going to the legal outlets to make gambling bets? And one of the things that's implicated here is the fact that if you win from a bookie, mob linked or otherwise, you don't have to pay the taxes. So it's, if you're really gambling a lot of money, but it's on the books with a service over the internet, you have to pay the taxes. The other thing is that if you're losing and you find yourself short, they will happily loan you money.
Yes.
And then that's where we get into the extortion charges, which are in this indictment.
Yeah, one could make the case that they were already deeply in gambling debt and trying to get their way out of it. I'm sure we're going to learn more details. This is the FBI Director, Kash Patel, really sort of, I guess, describing the vastness of this. Listen.
The fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Are you just sort of surprised that we're still, I don't know, that this is happening?
Yeah. How about this? I mean, 4 crime families.
Yeah.
They say it's very rare for these families to work together, but they agree for this.
Everybody loves basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they get protection, debt collection, you know what that means, in exchange for a cut of the winnings. In turn, too, I think it's pretty interesting that they have all this high-tech technical device, whether it's earpieces, whether it's X-ray
Fat
vision,
say a
whether it's
Rico
certain
low.
things, new
I
glasses
hear
or
you.
contacts. This is like Ocean's 11 or whatever number they're up to now, Ocean's 13. I think it's nuts. But people say that if you're addicted to gambling, if the first reason why we're not addicted to gambling, and we say, how could you risk a $25 million contract for a $10,000 bet? But even though Jim Trusty says his client's not, they say it's typical of people addicted. They want the adrenaline and the rush, and they just want to win, even though it doesn't seem to make sense because you have $26 million. You're not betting the ranch, and you can pay the mortgage.
Final word to you, Paul?
Well, so yeah, the 4 of the 5 families are involved. Interestingly, here the Columbos are not, and that's Brooklyn territory. The indictment's in Brooklyn, so it looks like maybe they're on the
You have
outs.
the territories down?
Well, yeah, well, Brooklyn is traditional.
Hello?
Colombo.
All you gotta,
I forgot.
The accent, that says it all.
I'm not in the indictment, let me be clear, all right? There's a number of people who are not in the indictment who are not named. Those are likely going to be flips. Interestingly, no RICO charges here, but I'm sure they're working on trying to get something organizational here to get the big bang of the RICO charges. And look, what it really comes down to is we've had these before. There was a fixing scandal in the NBA just a number of years ago, Operation
Apparently
Flavor
there was a
Brown.
point shaving in 1979. But
Right, yeah, you too.
And in fact, going back to Hollywood, in a Friars Club, they had a fixed poker game. They were watching with a camera through the roof, and they were ripping off big Hollywood names. They know institutionally, that is the mafia, they know how to do this stuff institutionally, and that's the big force multiplier for them, the organization. That's kind of what sets them apart.
Hey, gambling's gone mainstream. Every other ad is gambling with the biggest names in sports and celebrities. John Hamm, Shaquille O'Neal. So it's amazing that anyone's not betting.
You're bored and you got money.
Right. You're not talking.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a
All right, so check this out. You know, we heard of a couple of names, but they said some of the biggest names in sports, right? Well, who is bigger than LeBron James? He done been pulled into this too, because it says that his homeboy sold injury details. Check this one out.
LeBron James' name has been dragged into the massive NBA gambling scandal, but I want to make it clear that as of right now, while we're recording this, LeBron is not a part of nor have anything to do directly with the scandal. But here's what we know. According to court docs and law enforcement sources, details of LeBron's injury status were allegedly sold by his former teammate, friend, and coach, Damon Jones, as part of...
What? We just heard that name a while ago, Damon Jones. Yeah, they talking about making these bets. Well, check this out. He sold LeBron's injury reports as well.
Scandal. But here's what we know. According to court docs and law enforcement sources, details of LeBron's injury status were allegedly sold by his former teammate, friend, and coach, Damon Jones, as part of a massive prop betting scheme. So Jones and James became close friends when they both were with the Cavaliers from 2005 to 2008, and they remained close when Jones's NBA career concluded. In fact, when LeBron returned to Cleveland back in 2014, he actually helped a retired Jones land a job as his personal shooting coach. So fast forward to the 2022-2023 season, where Jones was an unofficial assistant coach for the Lakers during LeBron's 5th season in LA. Sources told the Post that Jones sent a message to one of the betting ring members on February 9, 2023, urging him to place a large bet on the Lakers' opponent, the Milwaukee Bucks, because James would be out with an injury that night.
Oh, wow.
Put a big bet on Milwaukee tonight before the information is out, is what the text message read. So the player, whom sources identified as James, didn't play that night after reporting a lower body injury and the Lakers lost. But it didn't end there. Jones also separately received $2,500 for hawking a supposed injury tip, which turned out to be wrong, about another Lakers player before a January 15th, 2024 game against the OKC Thunder. So court papers say that Jones claimed to have learned from the Lakers trainer that one of the Lakers' best players during the 2023-24 season was injured and only going to play a limited amount of minutes that night. He then told
which was LeBron, guys.
Ernest, who shared the tip with an online sports bettor, who then placed a $100,000 bet against the Lakers. However, the star player actually played in the game after all, and the Lakers won 112-105. The mystery player was not named, but the Lakers were led in scoring that night by multi-time All-Star Anthony Davis, who scored 27 points in the win. The bettor was allegedly upset with the bad intel and wanted Jones to pay back the $2,500, but Jones insisted that he had still received credible non-public information regarding the unnamed player that day. It's unclear if Jones returned the money or not. More details and news are going to continue to break surrounding this massive and damaging sports betting scandal, and we'll be sure to keep you posted with around-the-clock updates.
All right. So, we can't have a situation like this without having Stephen A. Smith, guys, speak on it all. Let's see what he has to say about this scandal in basketball.
Gambling scandal that has ravaged the National Basketball Association. Portland Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and former Cleveland Cavaliers player and assistant coach Damon Jones have been arrested as part of a pair of wide-ranging investigations related to illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by the mafia, according to authorities yesterday. Billups and Rozier have been placed on leave from their respective teams, the NBA said in a statement, and a total of 34 people were arrested as a result of a years-long investigation covering 11 states and involving tens of millions of dollars. FBI Director Kash Patel said. Law enforcement officials said the multiple charges involved 4 mafia families and organized crime networks, with Patel saying of the money involved that, quote, the fraud is mind-boggling. And indeed, it is. Rozier was arrested Thursday morning at a hotel in Orlando, Florida. He's accused of participating in an illegal sports betting scheme using insider NBA information. As part of the scheme, gamblers used non-public information to bet on at least 7 NBA games between March of 2023 and March of 2024, involving the Charlotte Hornets, Orlando Magic, Trailblazers, Los Angeles Lakers, and Toronto Raptors, according to the indictments. In 3 of the 7 games, players intentionally removed themselves from contests to benefit the gamblers' bets, according to the indictment. The defendants had access to private information known by NBA players or NBA coaches that would likely affect the outcome of games or players' performances, and provided that information to other co-conspirators in exchange for either a flat fee or a share of betting profits, according to the indictment. Chauncey Billups, who was arrested in Oregon, is charged with a separate indictment alleging a wide-ranging scheme to rig underground poker games that were backed by mafia families. The defendants are accused of using technology to steal millions from victims.
Can we get 200 on that like, guys? We need 50 more people to double tap that screen or click those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new. This is everything we know about what the FBI got going on with the NBA regarding this illegal betting, guys.
In the New York area. Also, though Billups was not named in the sports betting indictment, the description of a co-conspirator who allegedly told a bettor that a number of Trailblazers players would miss a March 2023 game had a playing and coaching career that matches Billups. There you have it. They both, Billups and Rozier, have been indicted on charges of wire fraud conspiracy and money laundering conspiracy. According to the Assistant U.S. Attorney Diane Hugh, each count carries no more than 20 years in prison. It's bad. It's very, very bad. And everybody has had their opinions about it, and certainly I have had mine. I had the FBI director for the United States, Kash Patel, called me and said that what I said in regards to Donald Trump was the dumbest thing he's ever heard, and he lives there in Washington, and it was the dumbest thing he's heard.
Thank you, Lisa.
That's what he said about me. And I would say he's the director of the FBI. Let's just say I'm not trying to get on his bad side. I think it's safe to say that. It's safe to say I'm not trying to get on his bad side, okay? But having said that, I still stand by what I said. And I'm not changing my mind. Because what I tweeted last night on X, and I wanted to make sure that everybody saw, so I'm clear about where I stand and what I'm trying to say. In response to FBI Director Kash Patel's insults on
anything is plenty,
Laura
Lisa.
Ingraham
Thank
show
you.
On Fox News, what I said was, I tweeted this on X, quote, "Nothing to get ahead of here, people. I never denied or failed to mention that this FBI investigation has been going on for years. I said Trump wasn't inclined to stop it. He's sparing no one because the man isn't playing. He's coming. In no way am I attempting to even have an opinion on the legitimacy of this matter. I don't know the facts of the case. I'm just saying don't expect POTUS to spare anyone on this matter, and I stand by that. That's all. Why are we acting like I'm far-fetched? Why are we acting like I'm making this up? I'm going to repeat what I continue to say to y'all. And by the way, just so you know, in the interest of just being real and making sure that you understand who I am, as a journalist and a commentator spanning 30 years, I just want you all to know that it's customary for people to sit up there and say that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, that I'm off my damn rocker, only to come down the pike weeks, months later and say, yeah, it was true, or the facts bear those things out. This investigation has been going on when Biden was in office. They talked about how this stuff has been going on since 2019, which is when Trump was in office. I'm not implying that Kash Patel doesn't have any legitimacy to the case that he's pursuing against these individuals. They are clearly looking for more bodies. And you can speculate as to who those bodies are going to be and how...
Hey, guys, we need 30 more likes. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel. Shout out to everybody viewing. This is Stephen A. Smith's take on what's going on with the FBI and the NBA with this, with the illegal gambling, guys.
And how feverishly he's going to go after those people. The man ain't playing. We understand that. We get that part, okay? And I'm not about to sit up here and argue with an FBI director, all right? I'm not. I was born at night, not last night.
Let's go.
I'm simply making the point that in the end, you have a president in place that has a lengthy connection to the sports world, rife with friends and enemies. And those who are his enemies, he doesn't mind inconveniencing one bit. And when it comes to the NBA brand, it doesn't bother him. If it comes to compromising the NFL brand, it doesn't bother him. And it's not going to stop. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't understand how anybody can argue with me about this. When you heard that ICE is going to be at the Super Bowl where Bad Bunny is performing, if it was somebody that Trump liked, do you think that would be happening? We've seen the pardons.
Let's go,
We've seen
Stephen
the executive orders. What do you think is going to happen? All I'm saying is that if he's salty with you, if he has a reason to dislike you, I'm not saying that delegitimizes the case. I'm just simply saying that he's not going to hesitate to come at you with a level of fervor that you should be aware of. And that's what we're talking about here. But there's another thing that's going on in the NBA right now. And I'm going to tell you something else too. It's a damn shame this is happening because these first 3 nights of basketball have been special. You know, when you look at opening night and you saw Luka put on the performance that he put on, but Golden State still win. When you saw Houston and OKC go to double overtime and you saw that outcome, that was special in and of itself. What about the next night when Victor Wembanyama for the San Antonio Spurs, put on an absolute show in the opener, dropping 40 and 15 with not a single turnover. At 7'5", dribbling, crossing over, doing pull-up, fadeaway 3-point shots, you know, driving into the lane, juking defenders and reverse dunks. Victor Wembanyama is something to behold. He is here. He is next generation level kind of talent. We could be talking about
telling,
him,
Randy. Ain't no
They came
telling.
out with the press conference yesterday. And when they came out with the press conference yesterday, I asked y'all a simple question. How many press conferences have you seen? Gambling, sports gaming, etc. Where you saw the FBI director himself in attendance. Tell me when that happened. Tell me when that's happened. And I think that a lot of people out there are misconstruing it. They're acting like I'm criticizing Trump for the NBA investigation, as if this is all him. I totally believe Kash Patel, and Kash Patel, you know, this is a story, this is an investigation that was taking place before he ever arrived. I totally believe that once he got at the helm, he wanted to probe and investigate this further, and this is his baby. I totally believe that he believes there's a strong level of legitimacy to this case against these players, and that there are some more bodies to capture down the pike. All I'm saying is, along the way, it doesn't hurt when your boss don't mind you doing it, because he doesn't particularly like some of those people anyway. And by those people, I'm not talking about the individuals arrested and indicted, but I'm talking about the brand itself that is the NBA, and how it could potentially serve to inconvenience that brand. These are not things beyond the realm of comprehension. Both things could be true. Both things could be true. And for this press conference to happen the day after Victor Wembanyama put on that show, and then last night takes place. And did you see what happened last night? Did you see the show that Steph Curry put on? Forget Shai Gilgeous. Never mind Shai Gilgeous and his 55 that he dropped on Indiana in a rematch of the NBA Finals, albeit without Tyrese Halliburton.
He talking about everything else, man.
Miles Turner's now Milwaukee
All
Bucks.
right, so
we're talking about.
So he's giving his take on what's going on right now. I just wanted to hear what he had to say about the illegal betting going on. Let's go here, guys, because they're reporting on this situation everywhere. Let's go here.
Pay up, you would see organized crime, according to.
There's a lot to unpack here. It is a big, huge case. And joining us right now, we have MSNBC investigative correspondent Mark Santia. We have MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin, and also sports wrap host Jason Page. I mean, guys, this is like something out of, some illegal gambling film or a Sopranos episode. I mean, take your pick, because it hits all of them. So give me a sense, Mark, of just what jumps out to you about this. Is it the enormity? Is it the money?
It's all of it, Alex. Alex, it's all of it. It's huge names in the NBA. It's the extent, some of the technology, Alex, they're talking about was incredible, and millions of dollars. I mean, when you talk about the NBA, you're talking about Terry Rozier, who's had a great career, currently playing with the Miami Heat, had some great years with Boston. You're also talking about Chauncey Billups, who's the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. But Billups played for the Knicks. Billups won championships in Detroit. He was a finals MVP in 2004.
Yeah.
So you're talking about some of the biggest names in the game, and then you're talking about, in the one case, you're talking about these are two separate investigations. There's some overlap, but you talk about that poker investigation, illegal poker. So they would find quote unquote victims called fish, and they would lure these fish in, according to the feds. They would lure them in with the opportunity to play next to some big names, including Chauncey Billups. And then, Alex, you're talking about the technology. They had shufflers, like card shufflers. You are talking about special glasses, and then something I've never heard about, an X-ray table.
So if they could place the card up face down and still be able to zero in on that card and know exactly what it was.
You're looking at it right here, right? That's it. Your card is face down, but everybody's in on it except for the fish, the victim, and they can see what card the fish has. And again, it's all about sort of, according to the feds, bilking these unsuspecting poker players in these games to the tune of millions of dollars. And then when people wouldn't pay up, you would see organized crime, according to the police, organized crime come in and muscle some of those victims to paying up. This is a massive two massive investigations out.
Arrests from all over the country. We had them in Miami today. We had them in Portland. We had them in Las Vegas. I mean, it really spans the breadth of all 50 states, most likely. So, Lisa, let me ask you about your takeaway on this, the big highlights for you, and what you think went into this kind of a sting operation. I mean, how elaborate was it behind the scenes trying to bring these people to justice, or at least place the arrests?
Well, let me say a couple of my highlights. One is the statement that the NBA has been fully cooperative in the investigation, and I suspect that the league and its commissioner, Adam Silver, will have something to say about that and the extent of its cooperation in this. The other thing that struck me, though, Alex, was from Commissioner Jess Tisch of the NYPD, who really was more descriptive, I think, in her comments about what they discovered in the particular evidence than anybody else was, but went out of her way to talk about what kinds of resources multiple law enforcement agencies can marshal when they work together collaboratively. And so this was a joint investigation of the NYPD, the FBI. There is a task force involving organized crime that got involved here. And of course, this all comes back to the Eastern District of New York, which is the charging office here. But I think we'll hear more in the days to come about the level of cooperation between law enforcement agencies and even the involvement of FBI field offices and U.S. attorneys.
Man, the mob ain't went nowhere, bro. They very much still here.
These offices from around the country, because as they noted, there were games that were played all over the country. There are arrests being made this morning, and people who will be arraigned or make their initial appearances in courts as far-ranging as Portland and Las Vegas, and I believe also in Florida. But the final thing that really struck me is the detail about Terry Rozier with respect to the sports throwing conspiracy, right? And the allegation, and Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, is that they bet collectively more than $200,000 at a point in time where they had inside information about Terry Rozier's injury, and therefore they knew, right? And they took the under on him to the tune of thousands of dollars of profits, which the group then gathered together to count. So the combination, and Jessica Tisch mentioned this, the combination of sort of old school mob tactics straight out of a Sopranos episode, and there is a Sopranos episode that sort of is like this, where you have ordinary people who want to be in on a big wheel card game, and they have Frank Sinatra Jr., for example, sitting at the table to make it look both impressive and legit. That's the role that the feds are now alleging Chauncey Billups played in some of these card games, right? But the combination of that with all of this newfangled technology, whether it's the fact that they money laundered through crypto investments, or the fact that they had the X-ray table, the card counting machine, the barcodes on their cards, the combination of the two is what distinguishes this from David Chase's fantasies 20 plus years ago.
Jason, I'm going to get to you in a second on sort of
This
the
is
fallout for the
crazy,
NBA
y'all.
with this, but let me just ask you, the fact that there are crime families, mob families involved in this, it's not surprising given the topic, given gambling, of course, but how does it complicate the processing or the kind of case that prosecutors will bring?
Well, obviously cooperation is more difficult when you're talking about people who belong to organized crime. They are notoriously difficult to investigate and prosecute, given the consequences for people who are members of organized crime families. And so I will be really interested in the days to come to learn whether there are confidential informants, whether they come from the victim side, meaning the people who are unsuspecting marks in these games.
This is wild, guys. This is wild, man. Who would ever thought that the mob would be involved in all this?
Whether they come from the actual sports enterprises themselves. They mentioned the sports betting books that may have been one of the victims here, right? The market for gambling and legal gambling at that may have also been victimized. But then, of course, they may have had someone on the inside come forward, and the danger to that person in doing so, that person's whereabouts, those people's whereabouts, if there are multiples of them, we have not yet seen the indictments. I know that during the press conference, the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office was referring to their unsealing. As we sit here, one of the reasons I have my computer in front of me is I keep trying to refresh those electronic dockets. They have not been formally unsealed for those of us who are not yet sitting in the room. When we see them, it may be clearer to us whether or not there are confidential informants who participated in this investigation, Alex.
So, Jason, give me a sense of just the fallout, the effect on the NBA for this first indictment. How extensive you think it is? You heard Kash Patel, the FBI director, saying this was going to be unpopular. They were going to take some heat for it because NBA players are popular. Sports betting is hugely popular. But don't people want it to be done cleanly? They want to make their money and not feel like they're getting ripped off.
Yeah, Alex, and this is catastrophic for the NBA. The morning after Victor Wembanyama goes out there and their biggest and brightest young star scores 40 points in his season opener, you have this story. And Adam Silver and the folks at the NBA office have to be cringing. But look, the NBA and all of these sports leagues were so willing to jump into bed with all of these sports betting companies. And everybody had to know. We were all screaming from the top of the mountain going, there are going to be consequences from this. And we all could see it coming. We were all staring down the tunnel at the train coming at us. And nobody seemed to really acknowledge that these were the risks associated with legalizing sports betting, and not just legalizing it, but the leagues jumping into bed with it. So now you have a situation where you've got these players and this coach caught up in it. Who knows how many other players know about it? I mean, and look, like anything else, 2 to 4% of the population in the United States suffers from a gambling addiction. Do you think that doesn't extend to NBA players just because these folks play in the NBA? Of course it does. Look, the only way I think that one of the ways you have to mitigate this, and this will never happen, but with these player prop bets, this ability for sports betting companies to put bets out there that are geared towards what individual players do is always going to open the door for the possibility of a player doing what Terry Rozier did and saying, oops, I got a sore foot, and a bunch of money being bet. The one good thing on this, though, Alex, is the fact that the sports betting companies are doing everything they can from a mitigation standpoint in having eyes on betting trends and odds fluctuating and lots of money going in on one particular bet, and then watching what happens in that case if a player does sit out or decide to pull himself from a game. This is something that sports betting companies have a keen eye on, and it's something that's going to continue to be a problem, Alex.
But Jason, when they're focusing on that, when they find this kind of trend, it's too late, right, for those people who've already been swindled, and they do not have these X-ray machines that Mark and I were discussing earlier. It is extraordinary what kind of technology was used here.
I could take this from another perspective because I played poker, and I played a lot of poker. And I played, and listen, in my younger days living in New York, I played in underground poker games. So I'm very familiar with sort of the environment that a lot of this took place in. Not something I'm particularly proud of, but something I am a little bit knowledgeable on. If this doesn't kill the underground poker scene, I don't know what will. If this doesn't convince you...
I agree, Big Don. This is most definitely bad when it comes to online betting, you know, placing bets in general. This is most definitely bad, y'all. Let's see what Charles Barkley and Shaq thought about all this.
Loss of $1.8 million. The FBI director speaking about this, what do you think?
I know everybody that's at play. And I don't like to sit up here and be hypocritical about certain things. I homeboy gamble, Ernie. You know, bet it. You know, we've been on teams. We played cards. We played spades. We played tonk. But with that being said, every year they would give us forums on what and what not to do. One of those things where if somebody asks you if a certain player is playing, you say no. So all these guys knew what was at stake, and I'm just ashamed that they put themselves and put their family and put the NBA in this position. We all know the rules, we all know the letter of the law, and it's just unfortunate. Innocent to proven guilty, but usually when the FBI has something, they have you. You know, FBI, I know a lot of people in the FBI, and I've been in many of those investigations. They'll wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but when they come knocking on your door, they have something. And we all know the letter of the law when it comes to gambling and sports gambling. And I don't want to sit up here like I'm some perfect guy. Like every now and then when I go to Vegas, I'll play some craps and I'll play some roulette, but never gambled at anybody's house. Don't know anything about poker, so I don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the Chauncey thing. But I know Chauncey, I know Damon very well, played with Damon, so I don't want to sit up here, but I'm ashamed that those guys would put their families and their careers in jeopardy. There's an old saying in the hood, all money ain't good money.
Let's go.
So if you're making $9 million...
Let's go, Shaq. All money ain't good money, guys. It's just crazy, man. Greed gets in the way a lot of the time. These guys are making a whole lot of money. A whole lot of money. Why would they even jeopardize that to put themselves in this type of situation? It's called greed. Greed. That's all it is.
And you're dealing in certain things. Like how much more do you need? Especially if you know you get caught, you can do jail time, lose your career. You know, put a bad image on yourself or your family or on the NBA. I agree with you, Chuck. They dropped the ball.
100%.
They had
100% dropped the ball.
And like you never want to have your name involved in that when you know the letter of the law. And Ernie, again, I know for a fact every year they cancel practice and say
go,
don't
James.
do this,
Shout out
don't
to
do
Texas.
this.
I'm in Texas
so all the
as
guys
well.
have the information. So.
Let's let Kenny get in on this thing.
Well, it's super unfortunate. One, because we look at players that are involved and the people that are involved. We're surprised because when you have access and you're at the top of your game, so to speak, as a coaching profession, a player, whatever, you're at the top of the game, you have access to millions and millions of dollars in this league. So it was surprising that they would put themselves in that position, possibly. It is an innocent until proven guilty. I think the other part is we have to realize gambling is an addiction. So the addiction of it is what makes you make illogical decisions. So not because you make $9 million. There are people who are making, as the FBI director said, there's a man who lost $1.8 million. That means he has a lot of money, so he has an addiction to that, those fish that they talk about that they were bringing in. So gambling is an addiction which can make you make illogical decisions regardless of your ethnic background, regardless of your physical background, and regardless of your financial status. So let's understand that. And I disagree in terms of the NBA dropping the ball. This is an ongoing investigation. There's no way that any FBI or police even would come to anyone and say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the surprise element always makes it happen. So they cannot overextend the information that they're receiving. And this is about individuals. And last, and I'll let you talk, Chuck. I wish you would, because you're making me mad right here. Well, I can make you mad and you can make me mad. I just have my opinion. You're going to have yours. But I also think that because there are people who get speeding tickets doesn't mean everyone in the league speeds. And so don't look at this group of people that are starting to get investigated as the entire league.
I really just want this. You say the league dropped the ball on the Rozier part of it?
Yes.
Because they had already looked at it and said we didn't have enough, but not on the Chauncey. They didn't drop the ball on Chauncey.
First of all, these are two different things.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Two different things.
So the league dropped the ball on Rozier,
Take Chauncey out the equation.
All right.
And the reason I'm mad at Kenny is, man, this ain't got nothing to do with damn gambling addiction. This ain't got nothing to do with addiction. These dudes are stupid. Why are
Let's go, Charles.
You, under no circumstances can you fix basketball games. Under no circumstances. I love to gamble. The notion, Like, Rozier makes $26 million. Him betting, giving people information or taking himself out of games, how much is he gonna benefit taking himself out the game to get unders? Like, he's making $26 million. The notion he gave, how much of these guys he gave a head up, he took himself out of games on prop bets. How much money is he gonna make? Well, if he did that, you're proving my point. What do you mean? That means that's not it's addiction. a logical thought process. No. If you're making $26 million to try to win 50,000, like that's illogical. So that you're proving my point.
No,
It is
that's
an
not addiction. That's stupidity.
The same reason someone goes and uses drugs when they're in the NBA.
Hey, drugs are addiction.
So there's no gambling.
What's up, Clayco?
They are gambling addiction. But the notion that you trying to make sure these guys being addicted, you can't fix basketball games. You cannot fix. Like I said, this is separate from Chauncey. But the notion that guys are making all this money and giving information, come on, man, stop that. Ain't got nothing to do with addiction. That's just total stupidity on these two dudes' part. We will have more as the night goes on. Again,
it's crazy, ain't it, y'all? Hey, man, Charles Barkley say these guys are just stupid. You know what I'm saying? I say that these guys are just greedy, guys. They're greedy. You know what I'm saying? It just is no other way to chop it up. Either they're stupid or they're greedy. One of the two.
Great to have you on. I want to play this out.
Hey, Brett, good evening. So there are two indictments at play here. One includes two former NBA players and coaches accused of conspiring with the mafia in an illegal rigged poker scheme. The other involves an active NBA player accused of faking an injury on the court as part of a sports gambling scheme. That player is Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. Federal authorities arrested him in Orlando this morning. He appeared in court today. Rozier is accused of exiting a 2023 game with a phantom foot injury so that he and his co-conspirators, including his childhood friend, could make tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, NBA Hall of Famer and current head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, Chauncey Billups, appeared in Portland federal court today. Billups is accused of coordinating with the...
Hey, guys, let's take time to double tap that screen. Let's get those likes up. Can we get them to 300, guys? This is everything that we know regarding the FBI basically making 31 arrests of former and active NBA players and coaches for illegal gambling, guys.
Mafia during rigged poker games where victims lost more than $7 million over 6 years. Prosecutors say they used this shuffling machine to cheat. They also allegedly used X-ray tables to secretly view cards, but that's not all, Brett. The indictment reads in part, quote, the defendants also utilized other cheating technologies, such as electronic poker chip trays that could secretly read cards placed on the poker table, and playing cards that had markers visible only to individuals wearing specially designed contact lenses or sunglasses. Former NBA player and coach Damon Jones is listed in both indictments, so that means he's accused of partaking in the illegal rigged poker games and selling insider information for NBA bets.
This is the insider trading saga for the NBA. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Thank you, Crypto.
The NBA said both Billups and Rozier have been placed on leave.
Crypto says all sports are scripted. This is a cover-up, allegedly. Let's go, Crypto. Thank you for the $2.
Their respective teams immediately. This is also the same investigation that resulted in a lifetime ban for former Toronto Raptors player Jonte Porter, who admitted to altering his play during games. He's set to be sentenced in December. Brett?
Nate, thank you. Let's bring in Joshua Ritter, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and a Fox News contributor. Joshua, great to have you on. I want to play this soundbite because I think it's fascinating. This is the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, but it was 2 days ago on the Pat McAfee show, and he's talking about gambling and how it needs to be reined in. Watch this.
But we've asked some of our partners to pull back some of the prop bets, especially when...
All right, so this guy on the right is the commissioner of basketball, guys, basically. He's a strange-looking fella. Yeah, but this is him talking about betting in sports, guys.
They're on two-way players, guys who don't have the same stake in the competition, where it's too easy to manipulate something which seems otherwise small and inconsequential to the overall score. We're trying to put in place and learning as we go and working with the betting companies some additional control to prevent sort of some of that manipulation.
He's trying to talk about the prop bets there, which we talked about earlier, meaning, hey, how many, if you talk about somebody like Terry Rozier, how many points is he going to get? How many rebounds? Assists and so forth. And if it's over or under, you win a certain amount of money. And then the players are accused of manipulating that, Josh.
Yeah, do you think he thought something might be coming?
Right,
I mean,
right.
It sounds a lot like it. It's exactly what we're talking about here, is that this is a stat that no one, you and I, a casual viewer of the NBA, is going to pay attention to. Whether or not one player goes over or under on his time played or the amount of points that he has. But to people betting, it can be a big bet. And especially if they have inside information that he might be pulling himself out of the game early, the consequences could be millions of dollars in Vegas.
Yeah, and the thing to me is, you look at both of these different cases and you look at the poker one and you're like, yeah, I mean, this is the mafia. I mean, it's egregious, really bad. And, but it's been going on for a lot of years. They're using new technology to cheat in poker and using coaches to lure other, high, big whales in, as they're known in Vegas, the big gamblers. But this NBA thing, I mean, it goes to the very integrity of the game, Josh.
Absolutely. I think that part of it is going to have consequences way beyond today. I mean, you're right. A shitty card game taking place in some back room of a bar. A lot of people are going to worry about that years from now. But the integrity of the NBA and whether or not players are involved in throwing games and the consequences this could have in Vegas, this is going to have ramifications for years to come.
And it's interesting because you talk about, well, his buddies were betting $10,000 on this and this person was betting this, and you're thinking, listen, you got a guy like Terry Rozier was making $26 million a year. What are you spending, what are you ruining your career for, allegedly, for $10,000 so your buddy can win?
It makes no sense. We were talking about this earlier. I don't understand it. What is the appeal? Is it just that they're interested in the hustle of it, that they can't take themselves out of that excitement of being involved in the betting somehow, or having this inside information? But you're right, they're making millions of dollars. This is not the kind of money that you would expect for them to make these types of decisions about.
I want to play this very quickly. This is Stephen A. Smith, and he's talking about bringing a little political stuff into this whole mix. Watch.
A little bit of what
Trump
he told us on another show.
Coming. Don't be surprised if the WNBA is next on his list. We've seen athletes get in trouble with the law before. You don't see the director of the FBI having a press conference. It's not coincidental. It's not an accident. It's a statement. Talk to people in the NBA. Talk to people in the NFL. Talk to people in the world of sports. They think this is like the tip of the iceberg.
It's not just a little bit of this and that with Stephen A. One thing, it began under the Biden administration. Nate Floyd was talking about one of these poker games in 2019, began a long time ago. The other thing, it goes to the very integrity of the entire NBA, which is a multi-billion-dollar sport around the world.
I do agree with
targeted
Stephen A.
well
at least on one point that I do think it's the tip of the iceberg. I can't imagine. I mean, every time you look at these federal indictments, you got to look at who are the unindicted co-conspirators that may not even be named. Right. Those are people cooperating, and there could be more information coming.
You wonder the big names. I mean, that's the whole thing, is we've gotten these names, but as this investigation gets deeper and you start looking at more different bets along the way, the name list tends to go up.
It seems to me like this is more of a mob story that found some NBA players and a coach, former player, who were playing along. I mean, literally put out as like bait in the water.
13 members of the Italian mob, guys.
But millions of dollars involved. What you think?
Well, I do think that they said it was a multi-year operation. I like one of the names of the operation was called Operation Royal Flush. Sometimes they get kind of creative there. I thought Christopher Raya, who is the
Alicia B. The mob is in this.
I can't remember his exact title. The way he laid it all out was very impressive, and clearly they had great coordination. They had no leaks, and this is a story. This is one for the ages. And we have great guests for you: Clay Travis, Donna Rotuno, former FBI supervisory agent James Gagliano, and Jim Gray. Thank you all for being here. Donna, let's maybe just go to you first on the legal front, since you were there right before this press conference. What did you take away? Big surprises? Anything?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of big surprises. Frankly, that sounded like we were watching a movie. I mean, just the amount of people involved, the extent at which they went to
perpetrate this, from the fraud to the cameras under the tables to cameras in chandeliers to, it really did sound like we were listening to Goodfellas or something. It was really quite extraordinary. I think we have to remember there's two totally separate indictments here, and although they came out on the same day and there's some overlap, we have one dealing with NBA betting and then we have one dealing with crime families and poker games. And so there really are two separate issues to discuss here. And, they happen to come out on the same day, but they are two separate indictments and we have to look at them separately because the NBA betting, although they didn't talk about it as much, I think that's going to have a larger impact on society as a whole than even the poker games involving certain people and certain groups. But the betting has an implication on many people who bet on online gambling, platforms and the trust that people have for regular fans. And I'm sure Clay will talk about this, but regular fans of the NBA, people who love sports, people who want to watch sports, people who want to believe that the game is not rigged. These have major implications.
Yeah. Let's give everybody a crack at the apple and then we'll dive further in, Donna. Well done. James, what did you hear for the past 45 minutes?
Bill, I have to say, I think the lead was buried. I mean, they're going to show pictures of Jones and Rozier and Billups and the NBA logo because obviously that's what kind of sucks everybody in where you go, wow, these are rich people, they're famous people, and they were involved in an illegal gambling activity. Here's the buried lead. It's the fact that the mob is back. We've long thought of La Cosa Nostra, the five families of New York, and I worked on the Gambino squad when I was an FBI agent, as being on the way out.
They talking about the mob is back. The mob never left. They been here. They just, low key with it.
Well, 3/5 of them, only the Lucchese's and the Colombos are sitting down right now saying, how did we not get a piece of this? But this is a fascinating case, and 31 subjects in one of them and 6 in the other. This is going to be an interesting case to follow going forward.
Jim Gray, thank you.
MSNBC is most definitely covering this. I showed a clip of them earlier. Everybody's covering this.
Thank you for being here. The NBA cooperated. That was one of the last questions that we had there. And there's so many strings to pull. The sweater could unravel pretty quickly. Your takeaway?
Well, all of these sports leagues, and in this instance the NBA, are dependent on the games being real, not being fixed. Once you lose the confidence of the public that the games are not real and that they can be thrown, then you have just a huge, huge issue, and that's the biggest concern here. When you have a current NBA player who's involved, and Chauncey Billups now, not accused of throwing games or doing anything to rig that game, but playing in poker, it just eats at the credibility and the integrity, and it's very dangerous and very problematic.
Yeah. Clay, your take?
Two things. One, I bet there's some guys watching us right now who said, I knew I wasn't that bad at poker, the details here. This sounds like, I think Donna said it, a Hollywood movie in the rigged nature of the way the mafia was taking advantage of these guys. I mean, I jotted down, they called the quarterback, the guy sitting at the table who was signaling cards. They had the face cards, which were the athletes potentially drawing in these gamblers. And then in particular, Jess Tisch, who is with the New York Police Department, signaled out Terry Rozier. I jotted this down, guys. Told everybody he was going to leave the game early, left after 9 minutes. $200,000, she said, was wagered on the under. That is, that he's not going to be able to achieve whatever the prop bets were on that particular game. And then she said the proceeds were delivered to his house where they counted the cash. Now, $200,000, guys, sounds like a lot of money to normal people. He's making $26.6 million this year, Rozier is. He's made in his career $160 million. This is mind-numbingly stupid. He may be in prison for years now, but the dollars at stake here are a pinprick of what he made almost per game. So this is a mess for the NBA. And again, it goes to what Jim said. The integrity of the game itself is what fans rely on. And when you got players who are making decisions like this, you have to wonder how much bigger could this be.
James, I want to play for everybody here. This is the NYPD commissioner about the poker games and some of the shenanigans that were going on.
Victims believed that they were sitting at a fair table. Instead, they were cheated out of millions. One victim in particular lost $1.8 million. In total, losses exceeded $7 million and continued to climb. And when people refused to pay, these defendants did what organized crime has always done. They used threats, they used intimidation, and they used violence. It's the same pattern that we have seen for decades. Traditional mob enforcement methods combined with new technology to expand the reach of their operations.
James, there's so many different questions here. One, I think the sheer amount of coordination amongst all of the different entities is impressive, but also what you said earlier is something that we said while we were watching, like we thought the mafia had kind of gone away, and that's not the case. And sports betting was always something that was lingering out there, but now it's legal. So tell me a little bit more about how they reconstituted over the last several years.
Sure. So Dana, 34 years ago, a number of us FBI agents in the New York office stood along the same causeway right there when John Gotti was convicted of murder, extortion, racketeering, and illegal gambling activities. And you listen to how this happened. I mean, the violence that's attached to this, it's not just fraud, but the conspiracy also included Hobbs Act extortion. So this is straight out of Goodfellas. And to put a fine point on your question, look, the mob, La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours, it's been around a long time. It came here to the shores when Italian Americans immigrated from 1892 to 1943 and ended up on Ellis Island. They are not going away. It's a game of whack-a-mole. The more that we put pressure on the NYPD, the FBI, and other groups get our attention, they come back and reconstitute.
All right, here's soundbite number 2, guys. This is a U.S. attorney. This is Joseph Nucella, okay? He's talking about the operation that they use. What you referred to, Clay. Listen here.
They used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table.
Donna, how much do you know about an investigation like that and what it entails based on time and manpower?
Oh, the amount of hours, the amount of manpower, the amount of subpoena power, the things that had to go into this were enormous. The amount of time spent, look at the number of people just standing at that press conference. I don't think we've ever seen a press conference with that many different areas of law enforcement and that many people involved. It's actually nice to see the agencies working together and being able to pool their resources and come up with these answers for us. This was really quite extensive, and I think we're going to see as this plays out and the evidence is revealed what truly went into this, and I think it's going to be extraordinary.
Jim, what do you think Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, is thinking right now?
They haven't said who was the whistleblower yet, Alicia B.
Well, I think he's
they
beyond
haven't announced
concern. They just had 2 great nights in the NBA. Victor Wembanyama came back for the San Antonio Spurs, and we saw on opening night a double overtime game that was just terrific between the champion OKC team, the Thunder, against the Houston Rockets. And so now he's got this on his plate. And he made a comment in one of the interviews that he did that he had been working with gaming companies, or that the NBA had wanted to work with gaming companies on these prop bets. So he knows that it's an issue. And if you can believe these statistics, Dana and Bill, that are printed, $147 billion. $147 billion was wagered on sports in this country. $84 billion supposedly illegally. So the leagues used to have an arm's length from all of this, and in recent years, because of this proliferation, they've started to embrace it. Not their players, obviously, and the coaches, but the public, and putting up betting lines up. And so all of this has changed dramatically very, very quickly. And what Clay said, this is really small amounts of money compared to what these guys are making, particularly in the case of Rozier. It's astonishing that somebody would risk going to jail, losing all of this money that they can make to bet on these things. It's insanity.
Yeah, to all of you, thank you.
I see you down there, Lanice. She says everybody keeps saying that Gilbert Arenas been snitching, allegedly.
Clay, I know you'll be on the radio later, probably talking a lot about this, but terrific stuff, guys.
Thank you.
On the fly reaction there. We'll see where it goes. Thanks. We were sitting here talking about who's going to write this book.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to write the screenplay for it? There's more to be discovered here, I think. I mean, we're just scratching the surface here, and
because 29 people were arrested, and
30, yes.
we know that of 30, and Rozier is
It was
going
actually
to appear
31
in court today,
people.
and probably others. So we're just at the beginning of this story, and it's a fascinating one indeed.
Yes, I thought that quote that Jessica Tisch had, but Rozier's been under investigation in the past, and they cleared him. He said he's been benched not for injury, but for integrity. He'll be in Orlando today in court.
Indeed. All right.
We're going to start, in the meantime, with the other big story of the day. That's Operation Royal Flush and Operation Nothing But Net. Two bombshells, one of them rocking the NBA. An FBI gambling bust involving high-profile basketball stars and the mafia. Suspects are accused of rigging bets and setting up illegal poker games. Let's take a look at the two operations over at the wall. The first is Operation Nothing But Net. This was a sports gambling scheme involving several stars in the NBA.
Okay, so now they're breaking it down.
It happened between December of 2022 and March of 2024. It involved 6 different defendants, nicknames like Spook, Vez, Sugar. There was Damon Jones, a noted NBA player, and Scary Terry, who is Terry Rozier himself, to place bets over-under, more or less, on how many points that particular player may score on a given night. The charges include wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering. Now, if convicted, each of these defendants could face a maximum of 20 years each. Here's how it played out, and here's what it means for the NBA. Several games we know were alleged to have been affected. March 2023, the Charlotte Hornets game, Terry Rozier tipped off and left the game within 9 minutes of being on the floor. That info was used to place, we know, or it's alleged, a $200,000 bet. In a 2023 game, Portland Trailblazers game, an insider gave info that the Blazers' top player would sit out the game, and that was used to wage $100,000. And then in April of the same year, during the Orlando Magic game, relationships were leveraged from a Magic player that several of the team's top players would sit out, and then we know an at least $11,000 bet was placed. So it also included 4 and 5 games of the Los Angeles Lakers between February of 2023 and January of 2024. Damon Jones shared insider info on lineup decisions and medical information that was used to place wagers. There was also Toronto Raptors games as well involved, where John Tay Porter told a co-conspirator that he would exit the game early, allowing people to place bets within the game. Now, I mentioned there was also Operation Royal Flush. This is where, again, several high-profile NBA players helped rig poker games. This entire scheme involved 4 of the 5 major Italian mafia families of New York, the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
This alleged illegal gambling operation hustled unwitting victims out of tens of millions of dollars and created a financial pipeline.
This is crazy,
for La
guys.
Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate their organized criminal activity. Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor.
Rigged shuffling machines, cameras embedded into chip trays, x-ray tables that could read cards
For the love
from
of money,
underneath,
Alicia B,
all
let's go.
designed so that everyone at the table was in on the scam except for the Mark who could lose millions of dollars at the poker table. The NBA is cooperating reportedly with this investigation, the FBI. Now, on the screen, you just heard from my next guest. That's FBI New York Assistant Director in Charge, Christopher Rayer. Christopher, thanks for being with us here today. I think in the time that we have together, which is short, unfortunately, I want to ask you 2 questions. Number one, how did this start? How did this entire thing hit the radar
Let
of
us
the
know
FBI?
how y'all got to
This actually
investigate.
started, first of all, Will, thanks for having me. This actually started as a spinoff from one of our previous cases, and you had mentioned a Jontay Porter case, and you're familiar with that case. So we got to digging into that, did some more investigation, follow-on investigation like we see, and we uncovered these new pathways or these new leads, and we're able to bring it to fruition like you saw today, which is a culmination of 2 years of investigative work.
Jontay Porter, a former NBA player who got in trouble for gambling. I'm curious then, was Porter helpful in then setting off this investigation? Was he a cooperator in this investigation?
Well, as you know, well, I can't comment one way or the other on that.
They ain't giving
I will
up
tell
the
you, as a
snitches,
result of
guys.
the investigation from that, from the Jontay Porter investigation, that's what launched us into this other investigation.
Okay, I don't know if you can help me answer this question as well at this point, but there is a suspicion, there's a feeling out there, Christopher, that this is a bit of a tip of the iceberg situation when it comes to sports gambling. Is there more coming from the FBI?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Well, I will tell you, in cases like this, traditionally, this really is the tip of the iceberg. We have more investigation to do. We have more interviews to do. Obviously, cooperators are going to come out of this. We see these investigations, whether it's Italian organized crime, Eurasian organized crime, or illegal gambling, we oftentimes find that there is more to it than just this initial salvo, if you will. So we're going to keep we're going to keep our foot to the pedal, our pedal to the metal on this, and we're going to continue to investigate this along with the rest of the 5 families that are operating here in New York.
Beyond the 5 families, which in and of itself, as an FBI agent, you probably get here tired of people suggesting it's made for another Hollywood movie, but it truly is in this case. But I'm curious from the NBA angle, is there more? Will there be other NBA players who will be investigated?
You know, I think only time will tell. I think only time will tell. We're going to do our due diligence. We're going to investigate folks, and we're going to see how systemic is this problem. I think that's the biggest question right now. Is this a systemic problem in the NBA, or is this an isolated incident? And there's a lot of work that needs to get done in the next days, weeks, months to try to answer that question.
Okay. We hope you'll continue to keep us informed as you begin to answer those questions. Thanks for being with us. Sorry that our time was cut short today, but we're glad to have you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Will.
We're 18 past the hour now, and some breaking news on this story in the NBA. Watch this now. It's still developing. It's our understanding that there are arrests being made actively as we speak. This is rocking the league. The FBI arresting a coach in Portland, as well as current and former players. We expect to learn more 40 minutes from now with a news conference from the FBI. Nate Foy's live in Brooklyn, where that news conference will take place. And Nate, good morning to you. What do we know so far? Hello.
Hey, Bill, good morning. Yeah, all eyes will be on that news conference at the top of the hour, as right now we're learning at least 31 people with sports ties and mafia ties so far have been arrested as part of an FBI investigation into illegal sports betting in the NBA and also an illegal poker scheme. Now, the big name coach and player, Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups, as well as a lesser-known player and coach, Damon Jones, so far the 3 names that we know, but we'll start with Rozier. This comes after an investigation was reported by the Wall Street Journal into him, a federal investigation back in January that looked into a game back when he played for the Charlotte Hornets in 2023, where there was strange betting patterns that emerged in a game where he left early, Bill, after playing only 10 minutes with a foot injury, and there were a lot of bets on the under for his points, rebounds, and assists. So that has been reported in the investigation into Rozier. We'll learn more at 10 o'clock about the details with him. Chauncey Billups is a bit of a different case at this point, Bill. From our information, he is allegedly involved in a poker scheme with the American-Italian Mafia. And then Damon Jones is a former NBA player and coach as well, arrested. And this is all related to the same investigation that ultimately landed a lifetime ban for Jontay Porter, a former player for the Toronto Raptors, who admitted to altering his performance in games so that other people could make money off of prop bets for his performance in those games. Now, the NBA investigated Rozier, and he was cleared as part of the NBA investigation, which explains why yesterday he was active for the Heat's game against the Orlando Magic. He did not play because of a coach's decision, but the federal investigation has been ongoing in the background, and we are certainly expecting, and sports fans everywhere who are concerned about the integrity of the game are really looking forward to this news conference to learn everything that we can. The NBA Commissioner Adam Silver certainly has quite a mess here on his hands, but FBI Director Kash Patel and Joe Nocella, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, will be leading this news conference at 10, and we'll bring it here live, Bill. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Nate, thanks. Come back with more information when you get it. Just want to point one thing out. A prop bet is somewhat new. That's not when you bet a team to win or lose. It's when you bet on a single player to perform. Perhaps points, bet more points or less points, and that seems to be at the heart of a lot of this right now. Nate, thanks for that. Dana's got more right now.
And Michelle Tafoya, former NFL sideline reporter. She also covered Chauncey in the NBA, and Donna Ratuna. She is a Fox News contributor, and it's great to have you both. Michelle, could I start with you just to set the stage for us, because this is all breaking news, and it might be kind of confusing for a lot of people, especially if there are different charges for different types of gambling all in this one fell swoop.
I was shocked about Chauncey Billups, having covered him as both a player and a coach. But his gambling accusation, as Nate mentioned, has to do with poker. So it's totally unrelated to the game, at least it seems so at this point. But as for the players Bill mentioned, at these prop bets, these are easily manipulated. And there was a guy on Twitter, on X now, who posted about that game in 2023 regarding Rozier that got lucky that I was fed some inside info that Rozier was leaving in the first or second quarter so that his unders would hit. So these players who want to help out a buddy or affect, somebody's income can make a call and say, look, I'm not going to play that long. And they can manipulate how these bets come out. Now, I can remember a time when gambling was completely disassociated with pro sports, but not only have they accepted it, they've embraced it. When I went to turn on an NBA game last night, the sideline reporter was holding a microphone that said FanDuel on it. So FanDuel, one of the largest platforms for gambling, now televises games.
Sorry. Go
I was just going to add that I was just telling Bill early this morning, because I'm very interested in sports gambling, not because I participate, but because I think it's dangerous for especially young people. But just last night, the NHL, the Hockey League, said that this is all going to be a part of the Hockey League now. So it's all happening within the last hour.
So Nate Silver is the commissioner of the NBA, as Nate pointed out a moment ago. 11 years ago, Donna, he was talking about getting federal legislation for this. Since that time, 39 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico have all launched these legal betting markets. And Michelle, you're right. You can't turn on the TV or look at your phone without seeing an ad for FanDuel or DraftKings or you name it. What Silver is calling for, and Donna, maybe we're not even at this point just yet, he's calling for federal legislation.
Thank you, Rika.
To make it more streamlined in the world of gambling, so you don't have 39 different states operating under different rules. Donna, how do you see it right now?
Well, I think that's a possibility. Obviously, the legislature will determine how this moves forward in terms of what the rules are. But when we look at these, the problem is, and I'm sure, Mr. Silver's aware, as is every single person who's placing a bet, the integrity of the game and the integrity of betting on the games is going to have to really, really be under a lot of scrutiny. Because if you're a regular online bettor, what is going to make you want to place a bet if you think the system is rigged? And here we are in a world where that is such a large revenue stream. It's such a big business that if it is not regulated in some way, we're going to find ourselves in this situation where the whole thing could come crumbling down, and then there's no integrity anywhere. And I think that's really why Mr. Silver is asking for some type of regulation.
Michelle, we only have a couple of seconds left, but I want to ask you, when the press conference happens at the top of the hour, what are you going to be looking for to hear from the FBI?
Well, I'm certainly going to be interested to hear how these poker charges and all these different cases are connected. But certainly, there's going to be an example made for exactly that reason. Integrity of the game matters. This is a massive business. Sports betting is a huge industry now. And if you have a player or two who is manipulating the outcome, that is insider trading. And so I think the consequences need to be lifetime bans. And I think that's the only way you're going to get players' attention. to stop with this, but it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, indeed. Adam Silver, not Nate Silver. Nate Foy. Right? Okay, I crossed the lines there. Ladies, what I think here, what Nate Foy was describing there, is you've got one guy in poker bets with mafia connections. How does that relate to NBA prop bets over how much money, how many points a guy's going to score on the court? All this needs to be answered, and we'll follow it 34.
And it happens the morning after opening night?
Yeah, I think opening night was Tuesday night. The Knicks, it was last night.
It's really
A lot of
interesting.
teams getting the season going.
Thanks, ladies.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. Thanks, Michelle.
All right, some breaking news is catching everybody by surprise. The FBI arresting NBA player Terry Rozier early this morning in connection with a widespread sports betting investigation, and he's not the only one.
This is huge news. Nate Foy joins us live from Brooklyn with the latest. Good morning, Nate.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, breaking news that is sure to rock the sports world. You mentioned Terry Rozier, and he's not the only one. Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers and a multi-time All-Star, a Finals MVP back in his playing days, also arrested this morning as part of an FBI investigation into illegal sports gambling. Now, Rozier, he was arrested in Orlando this morning, and he was there because the Miami Heat played the Orlando Magic last night. Rozier was active for that game, but he did not play as part of a coach's decision. Now, this all comes after the Wall Street Journal reported back in January that Rozier was under federal investigation related to a 2023 game back when he played for the Charlotte Hornets, where there was a surge of suspicious gambling activity related to the under on his performance with points, rebounds, and assists in a game where Rozier ended up leaving after about 10 minutes with an ankle injury. So the Wall Street Journal report detailed it so that it appeared that perhaps Rozier was accused of changing his performance in the game in order for other people to make money on his bets or on their bets. Now, this is part of an investigation that also landed a lifetime ban for Jonte Porter, a former Toronto Raptors player who pleaded guilty to his role. He's awaiting sentencing in December. We are expecting a news conference here at 10 o'clock with FBI Director Kash Patel and Joe Nocella, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. So we will be covering that throughout the morning. Big news rocking the sports world. We'll send it back to you guys.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to grow from here. Thanks so much, Nate. So there's a lot of speculation going on. The commissioner gave an interview saying he wanted more regulation when it comes to gambling. Maybe he knew this was coming.
It's going to be a huge investigation. I think you mentioned Jim Trusty may be representing.
He's representing Rozier.
He used to be in the prosecutor's office for New York, so he's a big-time attorney.
Run down court appearances across the country for those indicted in a massive mob-linked sports betting ring. Current and former NBA stars, including Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups, among those charged. The feds say the operation stretched across 11 states and involved high-tech gambling and game-rigging schemes. Correspondent Nate Foy has got the latest. He's live outside the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse. Wow, this is a big one, Nate.
Yeah, it certainly is rocking the sports world today, John. As you mentioned, court appearances are underway right now, including with members of the Mafia and other New York-based defendants just across the street from where we are. Other court appearances set to happen soon across the country. There are two indictments at play here. One is about an illegal rigged poker scheme that involves two former NBA coaches and players. The other involves a current active NBA player accused of altering his performance during a game as part of a sports gambling scheme. That player is Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. He was arrested in Orlando early this morning after his team played the Magic last night. He did not play in the game. He's scheduled to appear in federal court in about 20 minutes. Rozier's accused of purposely leaving a game with a phantom injury so that he and his co-conspirators, including his childhood friend, could make tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, NBA Hall of Famer and current Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups was also arrested in Portland this morning for the rigged poker scheme. Now, Billups is scheduled to appear in federal court at 4:30 Eastern Time. He's accused of working with the Mafia to defraud victims who thought they were playing fair poker games that were anything but. One person lost $1.8 million in a single game.
Whoa, 1.8
Victims were attracted
million.
to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines. fixing the odds in their favor.
So, John, take a look at this. Here is one of those shuffling machines. Prosecutors say they read the cards, predicted which player had the best hand, and then relayed that information to a so-called quarterback who would then use signals to communicate with Billups and others during the games. Prosecutors say the defendants also used X-ray tables to secretly view each player's cards. The NBA put out a statement that reads in part, quote, Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. Now, former NBA player and coach Damon Jones is listed in both indictments. So he's accused of partaking in the rigged poker games and selling insider information to profit off bets on NBA games. Now, the allegations involve several NBA teams, and not every single person is named in the indictment, but one game that is in question was a 2023 Portland Trailblazers game where there were a lot of bets placed on it, and the Trailblazers sat 4 of their starters in that game. Now, during that time, Billups was the head coach of the Trailblazers, but he's not facing any charges related to that game. This is an ongoing...
Could you imagine losing $1.8 million in a single hand of poker? Lord, have mercy.
Investigation, and it's part of the same investigation that resulted in a lifetime ban for former Toronto Raptors player Jonte Porter, who admitted to altering his performances during games so that people, including himself, could profit off of these prop bets. We'll send it back to you, John.
You know, if you presented that to a movie studio as a script, they'd say, it's too far-fetched. Nobody will buy it. Nate Foy for us.
That is wild,
It reminds me of the 1979 Boston College point shaving scandal, John.
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
I'm telling you, well informed. That's
I'm
crazy.
not old enough to remember that. Thank you, Nate.
All right, let's bring in Fox and Friends co-host Brian Kilmeade and former NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow, a Fox News contributor. Brian, you're familiar with every corner of the sports world. I mean, heads are exploding right now.
I know that you really got two things going on. I think, it's serious in terms of legal stuff on the modified card shuffling, the games in East Hampton, the games in Las Vegas, and I get it. But I think the bigger story is in the sports world, because you have this Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, who's right now just in the card game, but we'll see if the indictment spreads out. The one thing about betting, the one thing about games, the one thing that puts people in the seats, they think the game is not rigged. They think it's not fixed. The minute you fix the game, where people go there and go, and who's getting paid off? Man, that was a bad pass. I wonder if that person is got a prop bet on the side, is involved in it. Then everything falls apart. You can't have gambling. It doesn't have authenticity. And then people will pay for a ticket for a game that they think is somehow predetermined. Yeah. And now the betting falls apart, the game falls apart, the league falls apart. That's why I'm wondering if it gets bigger than this. Terry Rozier and Damon Jones, a former player, not the biggest names in the world. I'm wondering because the day before we hear about the commissioner of the NBA saying we need more rules when it comes to gambling. Why was he saying that?
So Terry Rozier's attorney just happens to be Jim Trusty, who will be familiar with many people who watch this program because we have him on TV a lot. He said this, quote, "It's unfortunate that instead of allowing him to self-surrender, they opted for a photo op. They wanted the misplaced glory of embarrassing a professional athlete with a perp walk. That tells you a lot about the motivations in this case. They appear to be taking the word of spectacularly incredible sources rather than relying on actual evidence of wrongdoing. Terry was cleared by the NBA, and these prosecutors revived that non-case. Terry is not a gambler, but he's not afraid of a fight, and he looks forward to winning this fight." His last contract, 4-year extensions, worth $96 million. He makes $24 million a year. Why does he need a few 10,000s in gambling?
Yeah, you got to ask yourself that. I mean, the reason, to be clear, and I know a lot of people are asking this, why aren't they not going to the legal outlets to make gambling bets? And one of the things that's implicated here is the fact that if you win from a bookie, mob linked or otherwise, you don't have to pay the taxes. So it's, if you're really gambling a lot of money, but it's on the books with a service over the internet, you have to pay the taxes. The other thing is that if you're losing and you find yourself short, they will happily loan you money.
Yes.
And that's where we get into the extortion charges, which are in this indictment.
Yeah, one could make the case that they were already deeply in gambling debt and trying to get their way out of it. I'm sure we're going to learn more details. This is the FBI Director, Kash Patel, really sort of, I guess, describing the vastness of this. Listen.
The fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Are you just sort of surprised that we're still, I don't know, that this is happening?
Yeah. How about this? I mean, 4 crime families.
Yeah.
They say it's very rare for these families to work together, but they agree for this.
Everybody loves basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they get protection, debt collection, you know what that means, in exchange for a cut of the winnings. In turn, too, I think it's pretty interesting that they have all this high-tech technical device, whether it's earpieces, whether it's x-ray vision, whether it's certain things in your glasses or contacts. This is like Ocean's 11 or whatever number they're up to now, Ocean's 13. I think it's nuts. But people say that if you're addicted to gambling, if the first reason why we're not addicted to gambling, and we say, how could you risk a $25 million contract for a $10,000 bet? But even though Jim Trust...
That's crazy, y'all. So that was a little bit of the breakdown, man. I even found where they took the coach to jail. Check this out.
This is breaking news.
That breaking news, brand new video shows Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups leaving federal court. He appeared before a judge on charges of money laundering and wire fraud conspiracy. The FBI says he's involved in a massive illegal gambling scheme. The case involves millions of dollars, the mafia, and dozens of alleged co-conspirators, including other big names in the NBA. The indictment against Billups was filed in the Eastern District of New York. Billups is set to appear in federal court in Brooklyn tomorrow. Thanks for joining us for KT News 4. I'm Reich Yazaway.
And I'm Deborah Knapp. At this hour, Billups is on leave and the Blazers have named an interim head coach. So here's what you need to know right now. There are 2 operations under investigation. One about rigged poker games, in which federal prosecutors say Billups participated in high-stakes games that allowed the mafia to steal millions of dollars from unsuspecting people. The other is about illegal betting on NBA games. They say bettors got non-public information which helped them win big. A guard for the Miami Heat, Terry Rozier, was arrested in that case, and the Trailblazers are named as one of the teams bet upon. Billups is not named specifically in that case. However, the description of co-conspirator number 8 does reference a player and eventual coach that matches Billups' description.
KT News is on your side with live team coverage tonight. Over the next few minutes, we'll break down the allegations, Billups' appearance in federal court this afternoon, where the team stands now, and how fans are reacting just as this new season gets underway.
Let's start with K2's Thanvi Verma live outside the federal courthouse in downtown Portland. And Thanvi, you just saw Billups leave the courthouse.
That's right, Deb. So Chauncey Billups just walked out of the courthouse. I asked him point blank whether he defrauded victims out of millions of dollars. He said nothing at all. He kept his composure. A few hours ago, a judge authorized his release on certain conditions, including what they're saying is a substantial bond, and by they, I mean the prosecution, and a prohibition on gambling. Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups indicted for allegedly taking part in a scheme that defrauded victims out of at least $7 million. That's according to the United States Department of Justice. Billups, alongside over 24 people, allegedly put together rigged poker games in which they trick people out of their money. In a press conference held Thursday, the assistant director for the FBI New York field office explained.
Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor, as alleged.
When it comes to technology, that's not all. The DOJ alleges the defendants had card analyzers that utilize technology loaded onto decoy cell telephones that could surreptitiously detect which cards were on the table and playing cards that had markers visible only to individuals wearing specifically, or rather specially designed contact lenses or sunglasses. And coming up at 5 p.m., we break down allegations of the mafia's involvement. Reporting live in downtown, Thanvi Verma, K2 News.
Thanvi, thank you. We want to turn our attention now to K2 Sports Director Tyree Smith, live in Tualatin at the Blazers practice facility.
And Tyree, the Blazers did practice today. They were supposed to have a regular media availability, but they canceled. So what can you tell us about what you've seen out there and what we know about this new interim head coach?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's basically about it. They had practice today. We're supposed to have media availability, but they canceled. And we've been outside this practice facility live streaming all day long, and it's been It's been exactly what you expect. I mean, you could just take a look right here. We were able to get some faces of players and some staff members just kind of coming out and seeing if we could get a reaction from their coach, who is basically in the biggest scandal in Blazers history. We couldn't get any comment, but we got a lot of sad faces and confused looks. They're hurt by this news. And on top of that, they have to go play a game tomorrow at the Moda Center versus the Golden State Warriors at 7 p.m. Questions will be asked, and at about 5:15 at home games, that's typically when the head coach for the team comes and speaks to the media. Tiago Splitter, who is now the interim head coach, will probably be taking that place. So potentially, not sure yet, might be hearing from him at 5:15 tomorrow before the press conference. But folks, it's definitely a tough deal for these players. This is a players-led coach, and now they got to figure out how to go 81 games. Yesterday was just the first one. 81 games for the rest of the season without their head coach, with this hanging over their heads. And there's still so many more questions to be asked, and there's so much more for us to find out. And we'll have a lot more for you on K2 News at 5. Stick around, because this story is just the beginning. All right, Dev?
Terry Smith, thank you for that. It's been a roller coaster of emotions for fans over the last 24 hours, from celebrating the start of that new season to now the arrest of the head coach.
So K2's Guillermo Mota is live at the Moda Center for us tonight. Guillermo, how are fans taking the news?
Deb, surprise. Just 24 hours ago, like you mentioned, we were out here talking to fans, having some good time. Fast forward to today, this is what's going on. This is the reality. Head coach Chauncey Billups and what's going on. And talking to fans, several fans today, they're all shocked, surprised, and disappointed, just because they never expected this type of scandal going on with their team. We talked to a fan earlier today who said, this is not only about the Blazers, this is about the future of the league and how the league can be better.
Because of the light of this, I think that the best outcome is to have more restrictions and have more oversight of other teams, because this can't continue. Otherwise, sport like basketball would just be gambling. It's no longer just go see and support your team now. It's just more about money.
Like you mentioned, it's more about basketball. It's more than basketball, and it's about money. And talking about money, fans will be spending the money to come see the Blazers here tomorrow in a huge matchup against the Golden State Warriors. So like Tyree mentioned, we'll be posted here tomorrow to hear more from anyone in the Blazer organization about what's going on. But we'll stay put out here in the Moda Center and around to talk to fans to see what they got to say to us. Live at the Moda Center, Guillermo Mota, K2 News.
Guillermo, thank you for that. As we mentioned, there are two separate sports betting schemes. The other case relates to allegedly rigged bets. The suspects are accused of providing inside information about players to co-defendants who used it to place unlawful wagers.
K2 Steve Dunn is tracking this part of the story for us from the live desk. And Steve, Billups is not charged in this case, but court documents describe somebody that matches his description.
Absolutely do, Deb. They say co-conspirator 8 lived in Oregon, was an NBA player from about 1997 to 2014, was an NBA coach since at least 2021. The Blazers named Chauncey head coach in June of 21. And according to court documents, around March 24th of 23, co-conspirator 8 told the defendant that the Blazers were going to be tanking for draft position. Co-conspirator 8 also allegedly gave inside information that several of the Blazers' best players wouldn't be playing in that game. Reports from that day show that several star players sat out and that the Blazers lost. A U.S. attorney discussed the case this morning.
This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams.
Now, one of the suspects is Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. He was in court today in Orlando. He was arrested there shortly after the Heat played the Magic last night. Between December of 22 and March of 24, he's accused of sharing information about team rosters. In a statement, Rozier's lawyer said Terry is not a gambler, but he is not afraid of a fight, and he looks forward to winning this fight. Rozier is also accused of faking an injury in March of 23 when he was with the Charlotte Hornets.
The non-public information included when specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses.
A former Cleveland Cavaliers player and coach Damon Jones was also arrested in all of this. We'll be following this case and any connection to Portland as it develops. Back to you guys.
Okay, Steve, thank you. Of course, we want to hear from you, the viewer. How do you think this scandal will impact the Blazers season? Will it be a distraction?
Man, this is crazy, y'all. I don't know what to make of it, man. It is so many reports on this situation, man. Why would you ever put yourself in this position, knowing, that everything you worked hard for could be lost? It just don't make sense, guys.
Pulling in NBA players and coaches. Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups was spotted exiting a courthouse in Portland as he is now facing fraud and money laundering charges. He was released on bond but ordered to surrender his passport. Along with Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier is facing wire fraud and money laundering charges. If convicted, each could face decades in prison.
Up, Mad Dog?
Sports analysts say the FBI wants to make a big show of all of this, while FBI Director Kash Patel says he's just doing his job.
How many times, for one incident after another, have I said, Trump is coming? He's coming. But we've seen athletes get in trouble with the law before. You don't see the director of the FBI having a press conference. It's not coincidental. It's not an accident. It's a statement. And it's a warning that more is coming.
Look, while the NBA is a piece of this, they are just a piece of that. And what the American people should know is this FBI has no business in being the morality police. We are the police and the enforcement of the laws. If you break the law, we're coming for you. Whether you play in the NBA, coach in the NBA, it has nothing to do with legal gambling. And it has everything to do with those in positions of power in places like the NBA getting in bed with La Casa Nostra.
News Nation's Ryan Bass continues to track the fallout here. So, Ryan, what else are we learning about these allegations?
Well, I'll tell you, look, Nicole, these are two of the oldest scams when it comes to gambling here. Rigging poker games and rigging sporting prop bets. And look, Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier, as you mentioned, they were both appeared in court yesterday. They were released under specific conditions. One of those that you just mentioned, giving up their passports. I will say Rozier also reportedly had to put up his $6 million Florida home for collateral. And this indictment reads like a Hollywood script, Nicole. I mean, details from everything with hidden cameras at poker tables to inside info shared on NBA players and prop bets, schemes that federal officials call among the biggest scandals in U.S. history. 11 states this investigation spanned, 34 defendants that involved 4 crime families. Specifically with Billups, prosecutors are linking him to the poker operation where he's accused of being really the kingpin that lured and defrauded victims out of millions in mob-run matches. And they say Rozier tipped somebody off that he'd be basically exiting a game early in 2023 when he was a member of the Charlotte Hornets, so that person could bet on his unders and cash in. Now, Billups is scheduled to appear at a federal courthouse in Brooklyn later next month. As for Rozier, he is scheduled to appear in December. Their attorneys have said in separate statements that they are innocent. They will fight this. In fact, Rozier's attorney said in his client's arrest that it was a, quote, made-for-TV spectacle. Now, there is a third NBA player involved here. That would be Damon Jones, a former NBA assistant, and of course, former teammate and friend of LeBron James. Jones was charged in both cases. He allegedly leaked word that LeBron would miss a game, using that info to help gamblers profit off that. The Athletic says that LeBron had no idea that he was involved. Betting is a huge moneymaker here. I mean, you look at this map of the United States, sports betting is now legal and live in 38 states plus D.C., and this serves as a little bit of a wake-up call for the NBA. They are tightening oversight, working with sports books now to spot suspicious activity, especially when it comes to prop betting. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver talked about that earlier this week on the Pat McAfee show before any of this news broke.
I think probably there should be more regulation, frankly. It may be surprising to hear from me. I wish there was federal legislation rather than state by state. It's not completely in our control, but we've asked some of our partners to pull back some of the prop bets.
And Nicole, it's those prop bets that are at the center of this FBI probe. We'll see if major sports books, the DraftKingses and the FanDuels of the world, tighten these options. But it is clear the NBA has a problem right now when it comes to integrity, and this certainly isn't helping right now as their season is underway.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download.
It's crazy, y'all. It's crazy, man. Done got theyself tangled in a whole mess out here. Boy, man. To me, it's just another show of how greed gets you in trouble every
Career. He
time.
played
Every
18
time.
bet on that.
That warning from the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York to more than 30 people arrested for sports rigging and illegal gambling allegations. One of those charged, NBA Hall of Famer and Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups. He, of course, as the others have, vowed to fight the charges. Joining me now, Principal Security Consultant for IO Active, Ethan Shackelford. He has conducted extensive research into casino card shuffling machine rigging, and Chris Mannix, who covers the NBA as well as boxing for Sports Illustrated. Chris, you were so great last night. We had you back for another bite of this somewhat rotten NBA apple. Lots of reaction in the league last night. Get to the Terry Rozier and Damon Jones part of this. Chauncey Billups is in one category, they're in another, and it goes to the conversation we had last night about allegations that they traded in information that led to people benefiting illegally on prop bets.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Terry Rozier, the NBA is as comfortable as they can be with his situation being contained to just him. The NBA obviously has known about the possibility that Terry Rozier was involved in these types of gambling situations. They've investigated themselves in the past. They couldn't come up with anything, but obviously the federal government came up with a lot more. The Damon Jones situation, I think, is a little more troubling to the NBA because Damon Jones has not been involved with the NBA.
They've been alleging
that
that Gilbert Arenas may have told, but there's nothing behind it yet.
But he played for 10 NBA teams during his career. He coached for 4 years in the NBA, and during that time, he had a lot of relationships. He was a very popular guy in the NBA, and we know from this indictment that Damon Jones has been tapping into some of those relationships to get information. So the NBA right now, what they're focused on and what this overall league-wide investigation is focused on is just who is Damon Jones talking to and kind of how wide does this blast radius spread.
And Chris, very quickly, many coaches and the NBA offices themselves have said, look, we go through extensive briefings with our teams, the general counsel and others, about what information players are in possession of that they can, or more importantly, cannot share with anyone in their inner circle. Correct?
That's correct. I mean, these players and coaches are reminded vigorously on an annual basis. Some coaches have told me they get told this stuff almost on a daily basis in some way. So there's no ambiguity here. There's nothing that these guys don't know about when it comes to this type of gambling situation.
Ethan, thanks for your patience listening to Chris walk us through the NBA side of it, because for the audience's benefit, this is really two different kinds of things. There's the poker, which is fronted by some prominent NBA players. They are sort of the magnets for people to come in to play the games. But Ethan, you've done extensive research, as I said. Explain to my audience how these machines that shuffle cards can do things that can create a predictable outcome.
So these shuffling devices, these machines, like most other things in the world right now, are electronic devices. And in fact, in the shuffling machine, this seems to have been in use in this case, includes various connectivity options and fancy features, in theory to improve the integrity of the game, the protection of the game, and just the usefulness of the shuffler itself. However, those features can be misused by an attacker, as was done in this case, to either adjust the output of the shuffler to have a predictable outcome.
Yeah, they use X-ray machines on the poker table to where basically if you look underneath, you could see the cards that other people had. That's crazy work, guys. I agree with you, my guy.
Or to read the output of the shuffler and transmit that elsewhere.
And what can you do with that information?
Certainly, if a poker player has information about the order of all the cards in the deck, that means they know everyone else's hands, they know what's coming in the turn and the river, and essentially can make betting decisions with perfect information and clean out everyone at the table.
And Chris, this brings us to use the terminology in poker, the river. A river of information. And that's what this is
connecting both of these different kinds of investigations. Information that people who are not supposed to have it can come in possession of to bet more and make more. So, Chris, to your expertise and your conversations throughout the league, the average person in my audience, myself included, would say almost all the people we're talking about make or have made millions of dollars. What on earth would lead them in this direction when they're already pretty well set?
Well, I think that's the operative phrase, the assumption that they're pretty well set. I don't disagree with the premise of the question that a guy like Terry Rozier, who's made $135 million already in his pro career, should not be, according to the indictment, giving out information that leads to a couple $100,000 in bets, which he'd only get a portion of. Chauncey Billups had a very successful NBA career, had a successful broadcasting career, and is now a successful NBA coach. He should not be involved with these types of poker games and maybe unwittingly delivering some information of their own. The only thing I keep hearing from NBA coaches and executives over the last 24 hours is that you never really know how much money these guys actually have. You never really know how much they've lost over the course of their career. You can only surmise that both of these guys, and probably many others, don't have quite as much money as people think they do.
And Ethan, two questions for you. If you are an experienced poker player, and I've met a few in my life, I used to live in Las Vegas way back in the day in the 80s, can you detect if you're in the presence of something that has been manipulated as you've described with this machine shuffling? And second question, is there a way to make them unhackable or make them unmanipulatable, the machines?
So to answer your first question, I think separate from the technology side of things, an experienced poker player, I think, would know or would realize when a particular player is winning far too often statistically, or they are losing far too often statistically. So in that way, even a perfectly concealed sort of cheating mechanism leveraging a modified shuffler could still be detectable. To answer your second question, I think there are two prongs here. The first is that I won't claim that anything is unhackable, but certainly there are steps that can be taken in any piece of equipment, any electronics, to make it much harder for an attacker to be able to leverage these things. And that's part of the services that we provide at IOActive is giving that information to help our clients defend themselves. The second point is a human one. Whether or not the shuffler can be hacked, so long as the dealer riffles the deck after the shuffle comes out, really most of what can be done with a shuffler is negated. So I think having trusted partners, something like a casino rather than an underground game, can mitigate a lot of this as well.
Another connective tissue in these two stories, trust and temptation. Ethan Shackelford, Chris Mannix, both excellent. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So, pretty much, yeah, man. It's a lot going on when it comes to this whole entire situation with the NBA, man, and the illegal gambling. You know, Cash Patel, most definitely, is on his A game. This is crazy, y'all. I mean, people have been speculating forever that a lot of games were rigged. They don't be feeling like some of these games' outcomes are what they're supposed to be. Players faking injuries. Coaches telling players not to play when it ain't nothing wrong with them. It's just crazy, y'all. But hey, Cash Patel and the FBI have put all their cards on the table, guys, making big arrests of active and former NBA players involved in all kind of illegal activities when it comes to gambling and sports, y'all. That's pretty much everything that I have for y'all tonight, man. I hope y'all enjoyed the late night show. If you haven't hit that like button, man, make sure you double tap that screen or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. As they continue to put out more updates on this entire situation, I'll be sure to bring it to y'all, as I see it come in. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you have not subscribed, subscribe. And with that being said, man, y'all stay blessed. Shout out to anybody that sent a super chat or a super sticker or a gift. I appreciate it. You know, shout out to my moderators for keeping this chat running smooth. And until I see y'all again, y'all take care of yourself. And with that being said, Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Y'all be good. I'm gone.